Well, first of all, welcome everybody and all the new faces today. How are we all today? If it's in Paris, America. It's going to be an interesting debate, I think. Uh, I know how I'm going to approach it. I do not know. I do not know how it's going to go. Otherwise, so if you've never done this or you never, because we got some people here over from the Even Mama, and we got some people who probably have watched Even Mama do panels, and everyone else is Sunday or hanging out from my D&D group. What happens is what happens is Wick sticks us all in a group chat for about a week prior to coordinate everything, and not a lot goes on in the group chat until the day of, apparently, because this morning everyone was like, well, what do you mean by hegemony anyway? I'm like, this is probably the wrong time to ask. Who is on the panel is going to be that Katie. Hang on, let me bring up the list. It's going to be that Katie, Prussian, not Eli Monty, myself. Let's see, hang on. Yeah, Prussian, me, Kier Speaks, Spud Gun versus Katie, STV Philly, not Eli Monty, and Omar, all of whom will have channels up on Wick's channel. Actoid hasn't been put on the list, as far as I know. There's a call-in section at the end, so that might come up. We got like 20 minutes. Let's bop over to his Discord real quick and see what chaos is happening. Yeah, no one's hitting backstage yet. And there's an excellent chance that Origin of Language will certainly try to heckle us, so that will be fun. Because he tried to heckle me yesterday. And Wagtail and Obscurus in Wick's Discord apparently we're spies now, so me and Obscurus were talking in fake spy talk. There's a reason for that, Nurgle. So, I mean, that was fun. Oh, good. Everything is messed up. OBS updated. Everything's messed up. Let me know how the audio is doing, everybody. Anyway, what we got going on for the rest of the week is Hetman sent me this book, which is really something else. He wants us to read it and then talk about it on stream. I was hiding from your pestilent glory. He was reading and wants to talk on stream. It was a book written, I think, in the 90s. It was never published, so it doesn't have things like copyright and publishing dates on it. But it was written by this insane militiaman who is positing a Second American World War, or Second American Civil War, excuse me, because of ethnically divided countries are apparently weaker than ethnically monogamous countries, or monoethnic countries, which I can't think of too many monoethnic countries that have ever existed. And so, we are halfway through this thing. It's on 178 pages, and it's the most deranged things, one of the most deranged things I've read in a long time, and I've started doing internet politics, so I've read some deranged shit. So we're probably going to do that this weekend, and we're probably going to sit down, and him and I are going to talk about the Wagner not a coup attempt. So that's kind of what the plan is going forward as soon as things get scheduled. unfortunately, Hetman's work week, it's hard to reach him while he's reseating refugees. So that is kind of the plan. We're going to try to do something this weekend. It's not funny, haha funny. It's funny in a way. The other thing is, I owe patrons a set of notes for the Iraq show, and I'm going to put up my opening and closing statement for this debate on Patreon tonight. So if you want to go and read that, a whole lot of reading in the past, because I wasn't originally, I was waffling whether to do this panel, and then Wick asked me to do it. So that's where we're at. I'm like, okay, probably should turn down exposure. I see there's absolutely no dissension. Oh, there's a little dissension on the poll. All right, we got 15 minutes. So I put my big giant face up for it. Let's see if there's something worth looking at for 15 minutes. Yes, exactly. Funny as in this is hilariously insane. I can't believe anyone actually wrote it. Oh, that's actually good. Has everybody seen the ukulele apology? Because that's funny as... No, Fabian is not in this one, fortunately. Because that's funny in a oh my god kind of way. But, so I watched the ukulele apology video, which is not an apology video, incidentally. And I just felt jaded, because it just felt like the kind of thing you expect to happen on the internet after 30 years of internet culture. It's a panel, so it's a 4v4 panel. The whole situation that precipitated this insane ukulele apology was difficult to follow, which is saying something. Let's take this. Let's make my face normal sized again. We got just enough time to watch this.
Hey, it's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break. So a lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you. Right?
This is truly deranged.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. You're chugging down the tracks of misinformation. The toxic gossip train.
Oh yeah,
you
she's still
got a one-way ticket to manipulation station. Toxic gossip train. Tie me to the tracks and harass me for my past. Cause rumors look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash. But hey, at least you're having fun. Hi everyone. I've been wanting to come online and talk to you about a few things. Even though my team has strongly advised me to not say what I want to say, I recently realized that they never said that I couldn't sing
See, here's the thing about this. Like that statement is probably very true. Is no one, everyone told her to shut up and wait for it to blow over. Uh, we're probably not going to have time, TK, because yeah, we're not going to have time, especially if I talk, which I'm going to talk because I'm a streamer and an egotist. Where I'm gonna like, I'm sure they told her not to say this, but I also pretty sure they mentioned not to sing it too. But they almost certainly approved this as a public statement because they had to have. There's no way they didn't approve a public statement with those kinds of accusations.
Here I am, and today I only want to talk about the facts. So I hope that you'll be willing to listen. Here we go. Many years ago, I used to message my fans, but not in a creepy way like a lot of you are trying to suggest. It was more of a loser kind of way, where I was just trying to be besties with everybody. It's kind of like when you go to like a family gathering, you know, and there's a weird aunt there who keeps coming up to you and going like, "Hey girl, what's the tea?" And you're like, "Ugh." That was me, but in group chats with my fans. It was weird. I've been sharing my life online for over 15 years. I've poured my heart out to you, and because of that I feel like I'm talking to my friends, but in the beginning of my career, I didn't really understand that maybe there should be some boundaries there. There were times in the DMs when I would overshare details of my life, which was really weird of me. I haven't done that for years, you see, because I changed my behavior and I took accountability.
Find accountability is a frequent theme in this song, but at no point is anyone actually taking accountability. She is suggesting that she may have taken accountability in the past, but she doesn't do that now.
But that's not very interesting, is it? So let's go on the toxic gossip train. The locomotive's fueled with hateful accusations. The toxic gossip train. Steamroll over someone's reputation. Toxic gossip train. Hop on board but close your eyes, otherwise you'll realize that the train is made of lies, and that person you despise maybe didn't deserve to die, but hey, at least you're having fun. In all seriousness, I do think it's really important to hold people accountable for their mistakes. You know, we should hope that everyone can learn from their mistakes.
Yes, people are going to notice. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about apologies, and you learn this if you do a customer service job. There are several forms of apology that you can give that don't actually apologize for anything, but are designed to tell you and the person you're speaking to that nothing is going to happen about the thing about which you are upset. Ergo, let's move on. That's what kind of apology we are looking at here. Nothing is going to happen about the thing about which you are upset, so let's move on. Because no one is going and taking accountability. There's nothing that the harmed parties can take from this that say, aha, I have something which I can take and it's okay now. There is a path of forgiveness here. That's kind of like the point. Like the point of an apology isn't to, like, the point of this is different, but the point of an apology is to open the path between the party that you have harmed to let them forgive you. And it's a social interaction. It's a complex thing. But this doesn't do that. Which is kind of why when you get into these situations with social media figures, you end up having the case where a lot of people start running around and apologizing for things. But there's no like, this is a different example, but there's no like, you take a couple thousand streamer who gets hundreds of people in a chat a night. They don't have the same kind of personal relationship that a smaller streamer has, where you can personally harm a person. Like, if this is all stuff that's happened, then she's done it to a person to whom she should have apologized, and probably shouldn't have sat there and strummed on a ukulele for people to see and us all to give her an absurd amount of money at, let's see, 4.9 million views. All right, let's see what's happening over here. I'm going to cut as close as possible to start time so that I leave you guys out. I'm going to put up a fancy screen and turn down the desktop audio for a hot second when we get in there, so that while everyone's getting set up, no one says something they regret on stream, because that's just not nice. It's generally impolite. And do what the bot says if you're new here. Subscribe, hit the like button. It helps us out, particularly as we claw our way up in subscriber count. I should label these. I really should. Fine. I hate OBS. I really do.
Change their behavior and be a better person. And this is something that I've always tried to do when I make mistakes, and it's something that I will continue to try to do. What? Oh, you don't care? Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to take accountability, but that's not the point of your mob mentality, is it? No. Your goal is to ruin the life of the person.
While I'm at it, before we go, we got about 5 minutes. I'm gonna hold it off to about 9. At any rate, while I'm at it, that's kind of the thing about all this is the kind of thing about a canceling is that it's so en masse that you can pick who you're responding to and who you're listening to. Lindsay Ellis, before she left, had a great video on the whole thing. And ContraPoints also had a great video on the whole thing. That the voices that you can take two routes. You can try to earnestly engage with these voices, and it's not going to get you anywhere because you're never going to earnestly engage to the same degree that people want you to, and you're never going to be able to earnestly engage with everyone. What's my server? Titan. Okay, we can put that up. Hey, Titan. Okay, just enough time to deal with that.
Sometimes people make a mistake, and it doesn't make them a horrible person. Whoa.
Okay. I'm okay. Yeah. So yes, going forward, all apologies must be made in ukulele form. Oh, lay down, Bubba. You're a good boy. All right, I am going to put up the fancy bit, and no one will hear anything for a couple hot minutes. We're going in.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one and all to yet another episode of WhickTv, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And we have a banger of a show for you today, kings and queens and emperors. As you may notice, it's a little larger than most of my panels, but that's because this topic is so big. So huge, it's so ginormous that we couldn't handle it with only 6 people. We needed 8 motherfuckers in this place to come and discuss what we're going to discuss today. And what are we going to discuss today? We're going to discuss American hegemony. Based cringe? Should we be expanding our cultural and military influence across the world? Has it been a good thing for the globe, or has it been something that has hurt the globe? Is it something that we should get away from? Should we tone it down? We're going to find out. We're going to discuss it today. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Twitch, give me a follow, and also on Kick. Could really use your support. And with that, Daedalus, please, what are your thoughts?
Good afternoon, and thanks for inviting me, Wick. I'm Daedalus Media from the YouTube channel Two Guys Talking History, and I'm here to argue for the affirmative. I think that America's continued position as a hegemon is, for the moment, to be desired. A decline in power of a regional hegemon has historically marked a period of intense conflict. The decline of the British hegemon in the early 1900s presaged 2 world wars, and so since a stable world order helps us all to reduce the likelihood of a repeat experience of that, I feel that we should continue to be a hegemon.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to see your thoughts today. Chris Speaks, the one who begged and pleaded on his virtual hands and knees to get on here. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, it's only fun that way. Thanks for having me on, Wick. Yeah, I think that the answer to this question is actually relatively simple, not because there aren't many things to consider, but because there are no feasible alternatives that will not amount to bullshit fucking pipe dream of economic illiteracy or some other attempts at what I hope is not going to be, but I fear will be, communist virtue signaling. Now, I want to say that you need to look no further than the current situation in Ukraine to finally figure out that repeating America bad doesn't make up a personality for you. But, I'd expect nothing different from people who spend the majority of the time on Twitter. The reality is that there are world superpowers. They are incentivized to have their hand in developing countries because if they don't, their political enemies will. And we have to work best with the solutions we have actually available to us to get there. So yeah, I think in the course of this conversation, you'll find out that when my DNA was checked, all they found was USA, baby.
Okay, thanks for being here. Another friend of the channel, someone who I respect immensely, Dat Katie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great that 2 people from the pro-America side immediately gave their points and contradicted each other in the same thing. So I thought that was cute. So we're going to see how that's going to go. Just because America is not as evil as other potential superpowers doesn't mean that it can't be criticized. So when I got the prompt of is American hegemony based or cringe, I think anyone who doesn't say cringe is pretty weird. There are a lot of critiques you can make. And yeah, just one more thought is that I hope we can get, I'm against any world hegemony. So it's just convenient for me that I also don't like America. And I don't think it's just a pipe dream, but we can discuss that, Gears, if you want.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We're already getting super chats. $10 from Noel Elwood to say the U.S. should not have global hegemony. It had wrecked Africa, Asia, and South America. Do you guys think that any other country has wrecked the world as much as America? I don't think it comes close. We'll get into it. I promise you. But thank you for the $10. Next up,
person's pretty cool. All that is true.
Not Eli Monty. Go ahead.
Oh, speak of the devil. Okay, so no, I do not think that American hegemony is a good thing, nor is it something that we should necessarily be pushing or be happy about. whenever our influence, for the most part, our influence across the world, we over here in America think that it is a good thing because we are propagandized to believe that it is a good thing, but across the world, it is not. We have inspired so many atrocities worldwide. Also, the whole foundation of American hegemony is largely based around whiteness and white being right, as well as capitalist superpower. And for those reasons, that is why and many others, those are reasons why I really hate the idea that any country should be a hegemony, especially America in this case. So yeah.
Okay, we'll get into it as we go. We already got some strong opinions on both sides. First time guest on my channel, but someone that I'm very excited to have on. Omar, please, from Omar of the Third Rail.
Hello, how you doing? This is Omar from the Third Rail. I want to thank you for me. I am against American. America has been disaster throughout the world from the 1823 Monroe Doctrine. Iran out in South America for banana.
Your
So
mic
then-
cutting out, my friend. Like
Hello, how about now? How about now?
Okay,
Okay.
better. Go
I
ahead.
don't know. I am against American hegemony because I say it has been disastrous. It has led to unnecessary wars, the change of governments, further the interests of corporations, such as the banana wars of South America, and to the Vietnam War, to the Persian Gulf War, to the oil war. American hegemony is dangerous for the United States and dangerous for the world. Appreciate America as a nation of ideas and civil rights and things of that nature, but we are against it in this independent ways of
Yeah, you're gonna have to like eat your mic or turn down the the noise gate. Leftist audio strikes again. Okay, we'll get it done. Thank you for the resub, Falsers. Really appreciate you. Next up, while he gets ready for that, we're going to go to Prussian. Hello.
Hey, hiya. You guys may or may not know me from Tommy K. I'm one of his editors. If you play any Hearts of Iron, you may know me. I'm actually not from the U.S., so I'm here to defend a fellow democratic nation, I suppose. The U.S. hegemony has helped more countries and more continents than any other power ever in history. It has helped Asian, African, European nations to both develop and exist in the first place, and it has interconnected us to the point where the wealth we have now would be equivalent to emperors and kings in the previous times. And without it, there is no peace, only chaos in the world. So America has been nothing but a boon to the world, except for the times where it tries to isolate itself, in which itself and others suffer. So, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for being here and look forward to the discussion. STV Philly, go ahead.
Hey everybody, I'm STV Philly. So American hegemony, I've heard it pronounced both ways. In any sense, it makes me feel as though my place in this world is going to be better because of the American hegemony or hegemony. How do you guys pronounce it? I'm sorry.
Whichever you go with, it'll be.
Yeah, so hegemony rolls off my tongue, so my apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. But so if you want to talk about international hegemony, I look at it as America as, I guess you could call it bullies on a block, through its military presence, its international institutions, its alliances, and if you want to come home, it actually depends on it would probably depend on your class, like the view you have on it, but I really want to get more into it as we go. So as this being an intro, I'll leave it there.
Okay, yeah, we will absolutely get into it during the discussion. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Next up, first time guest on my show, Spudgun. Go ahead.
I say American hegemony is pretty based. Mistakes made in the process at times. It's tide that raises all ships, and a lot of times the countries end up better off, and usually without the presence of a dictator. There's also a reason why places wave American flags when they're protesting for their freedom, because that's the has become. I think it's based that we represent that to the whole world.
Okay, well, thank you. You're also Mike's cutting out a little bit as well, so I don't
Okay,
know.
let me check.
Yeah,
At least
it's
there's
all good.
equality on the
Wait.
sides there.
How's my mic now? How's my mic now? Is it
Idiot, you're
clear?
playing dirty.
Yeah, your mic's much better for now, Omar. So, okay, with
Okay.
that, we're going to open up the discussion, and floor is yours, gentlemen and ladies. Go ahead.
Cool. I wanna jump straight into it. I wanna talk about what Katie mentioned. So I'll talk to you first, Katie, if you don't mind. You said that just because it's not the best doesn't mean it can't be criticized, right? But do you know what is also really interesting about the American hegemony? To my understanding, it's the only hegemony in the world that you can be a part of that you can actually criticize, and that can be criticized by the people inside of it. So if the argument that you want to bring up is that, like, there are places where America fucked up big time, and I don't know who you'll be shadowboxing on this panel, because I can't believe anyone here is going to be enough of a fucking lunatic to actually claim that America has only ever done good. Can we just have a quick show of hands?
I don't think it's necessarily whether or not America has done good,
Yeah.
but whether the good that it has done outweighs the horrific bad that it has done. Yeah, nobody's going to sit here and say America's perfect, but I mean, maybe some of the things I've heard seem very close to that. But I mean, no, just because we do some good does not overshadow the horrific things that we do and the horrific things that we inspire in nations across the country.
Can I?
But would
Can
you
I
be
respond
like-
to
It
this?
has to.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go
Let me
ahead.
respond because what
Sure.
good did we do in the Iraqi war when we went to war under pretense of weapon of mass destruction?
We deposed a
Hold on.
pedophilic genocidal maniac.
hold on.
from-
Okay,
Hold on.
okay. You
Hold
guys
on.
get into it after I respond. This
Tortured
is
people
the-
to death.
No, hold on. Let me finish my thought, please. We killed almost 600,000
Katie.
Iraqi. Hold on. We killed almost 600,000 Iraqis under an embargo. Another million Iraqis under the false pretense of having weapons in a fucking palace, that weapons we never saw. It was all done for a corporate America. It was done for Halbertron. It was done for oil, to steal Iraqi oil. Tell that to the Iraqi. It's a democracy that was promised to Iraq. It's a democracy that
It
was promised.
exists right now. Like, for example, yesterday, Iraq thwarted a terrorist plot in the UK with the organization that plotted
There's
it,
no
that
democracy,
thwarted
Chris.
it.
Guys, if I
It
could
is
just-
a
if I could just
democracy.
jump in real quick, just for
Yeah,
1
yeah.
second. I'm gonna take us on a quick journey to 30 seconds ago when I was talking to Katie. If we could just bring it back to that moment, I would fucking love it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Kira, I actually agree with you. When I was doing pre-streaming for this panel, I did say that one of the differences between any comparative superpower in the world that is that unlike America, you can actually criticize America. So I agree with you on that. And to be fair, your point, and sorry, I don't remember your name, but the first person who spoke, I am completely, while resentfully, I can at least engage with the concept of complex geopolitics and the role that America has to play as like a global intimidation factor for other superpowers we might be wary of in terms of ideals. However, there are two, and I need to shadowbox them, okay? They might not say that America is all good, but they definitely don't think it's as cringe as you do. So we'll see how much shadow boxing I'll actually be doing.
Well,
When I say-
hegemony is a system. Hegemonies have existed since Sumer, in one form or another. They are one of the oldest systems for international relations that has ever existed. There has almost always been a regional hegemony. I think we have to acknowledge that the uniqueness of America is that America's hegemony extends around much of the world. There is that. This is an
British did that at one point too. We have the phrase that the sun never sets on the British Empire for a reason. And then what ended up happening? The Americans were like, oh yeah, we want to break out of the British Empire. Oh wait, the rest of the world was basically like, yeah, we want to break out of the British Empire. I think somebody else mentioned like Africa, right? Like about how what is it called? American hegemony, Western hegemony has like helped Africa. That is like not true. Like no, we haven't. The reason why Africa is shat on as much as it is today is because it's one of the most overexploited countries or the most overexploited continent in the globe that is plundered and pillaged for its people and its resources. To say that America, wait, no, stop. Because to say that America did great things in Africa when America went over and took Africans from Africa and brought them over to America, like that's which also plays a part in ruining the prospects of that nation and of the countries on that continent for generations to come, because you literally rob them of their people, their labor force, their citizens, all that shit, right? Nobody ever really build up the country again.
So
You can't
first
say,
of all-
"Oh, we did so much great things and we took the fucking people."
So first of all,
What?
first of all, I don't want to get into like 500 years ago debates, but like, first of all,
No.
most
We
of
can't
those-
just.
no,
Just real quick,
Still plays a part
You gotta
today.
let him respond. You made some
Yeah.
claims.
Yeah.
Preston,
Okay,
go ahead.
fine.
respond.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, most of those people were actually taken by Portuguese in conjunction with the Congo Kingdom, most overwhelmingly. So it wasn't even the United States.
No,
And then
it
sec-
was.
and then-
That's how slave trade worked. It was. We went over there. The settlers went over there. They plundered that country. Once like African kings said, "No, we're not giving you any more of our people."
No, that's
what
really not
happened?
what
British and the
happened.
Americans said, "Fuck that. We're just gonna fuck your country right in the butt."
That's-
and went
that's
over there and
really not
started
what
taking
happened.
people.
That's
That
really
is
not
what happened. That
The
is
slave- the
factually what
slave-
happened.
The slave trade was invented by the Portuguese, and they held the monopoly on the slave trade for like
It
centuries.
doesn't matter who invented it. What matters is who kept it going and who kept doing it. And Americans kept doing it.
European empires
like,
that
just
are predecessors
without-
to America. It wasn't the United States as much.
If I
Yeah,
could
the
just- if I
United
could just
States
jump
kept
in
the
real
slaves
quick.
for longer, but they were not the main
Hold on,
villagers of
if I
Africa.
if
Go
I can
ahead.
just jump in real
Just
quick.
because they were
ask
just
a
because they weren't the
clarifying so
main
we
ones
can
doesn't
move
mean
the
that they also didn't play a part.
conversation in a hopefully less cringe direction.
Cringe direction, okay, which translates to I don't like the way in which this conversation is going because it's hard for me to talk about it.
Translates to quite literally is
Because
that I
you're
would
just
like to talk
factually
about
wrong.
the actual realistic alternatives and the solutions that you propose. If you want to shit on the American hegemony and you want to claim, or somebody claim that America is the bully on the block, then I would like to have it explained to me by anyone who's able to. I currently live in Poland, a country that's right next to Ukraine. I see on a relatively daily basis what the fuck Russia's doing in there. So if you want to propose
This
that
said
America's
earlier
the
that just because we did some good things does not mean that like the bad things are overlooked. Oh my god, yes, we did good things like intervening in Ukraine. Yes, that's good. That's a good thing that we did. Can we get past that now?
Nobody here is
We should
claiming
take turns,
that the
Rick.
bad things are going away.
We are
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
get
past.
Okay, enough. We have to. There's a lot of people on this panel. A lot of people
Just
want to
take
talk.
turns.
Get it? I
Turns.
get it. Just again, we gotta go. We gotta get through this. Okay. You made your point, and I want to get to Spud, and then I want to get to Omar, and then Philly. That's the order we're gonna go in.
Since we're bringing up Africa, I'm just curious, does anyone know what China has been doing in the present day recently?
Oh my god, what aboutism when we're talking about one particular country? Yeah, bring up another one. Like, oh, well, look at what China's doing. We're talking about fucking America.
I'm not doing one. I'm bringing up the reality of the situation. That
Well, do we know what
countries
aboutism?
that have
Yes.
the most power. No, it's not talking about it to disprove a point.
No, but Spud,
Reality of
he's
the
right,
world we
because you
live
see, if we focus on what happened 500 years ago, then by the time this panel's over, somebody might say something that's actually fucking interesting to anyone listening. So I would rather just focus on something if we can-
Okay,
We gotta let Spud
anime
finish.
profile
Spud, are you
picture.
done? Spud, I want to make sure Spud gets a chance to have her say. Spud, did you finish?
Pretty much my point is simply that you can't critique one because it exists in other countries, but that the reality of the fact that if the U.S. does not intervene in countries, other countries, and a lot of them are going to be a lot more malevolent, a lot less, are going to either do the same things or worse. Is it cutting out?
Okay. Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit. Okay, we're gonna move to Omar.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why it's doing that. Go ahead,
Right.
Omar.
Right, how is the mic? Is it good?
You're fine. You're good. I'll tell you
All
if
right,
it
thank you.
changes.
Okay, we have to understand the history of the United States military expedition. Go to the 1898 to the Banana War, where we actually went to South America and took over countries for a banana company called Shakira. We overturned governments and the governments to a banana company. Actually, went for Citibank, New York City Bank, then it's not called. Went into Haiti, took their gold from their central bank and brought it to New York. We were thieves. Overthrew country. We destroyed countries all over the world. Overthrew the government. Elected government in Iran. That led to the Shah, and the Shah led to the mullahs. Son,
I mean, I can just make
we went to Vietnam and destroyed and killed and destructed this country and came out and killed a lot of Americans for no reason. Yes. The problem is you have to understand, we're not attacking America as America. We love the United States. Its side has a lot of faults. We are against the military expedition with America that brings us to war, military industrial complex to sell weapons, necessary wars. We went to war in Afghanistan for 20 years. They handed over to the Taliban, gave them the weapons, and ran like fucking thieves in the night with went to Iraq, the most secular country in the Middle East. A pedophile Saddam Hussein. It is the most secular country in the Middle East. Was women could go to college, they had bars, they had clubs, women could vote, they had everything. What we do
in places where Saddam didn't rule, in northern, where fucking Kurdistan had a democracy.
Hold on. No, I'm from the region. Saddam was the only president to give the Kurds autonomous in 1973. He gave them their own region to rule themselves. From there, I went to Baghdad. I went to Baghdad University. Saddam used to take all the poor Arabs from all the country and give them free scholarship to go to the universities and pay for their to stay and for their food.
Just real quick, Omar, are you saying that Saddam Hussein was a good ruler?
Saddam Hussein was a good ruler for that region. Okay. Don't believe the talking points of the fucking new cons over here. Do you think Saudi Arabia, we took the side of Saudi Arabia that fucking didn't let women drive, that beheaded women and men and fucking...
Oh, they're not good either. Right, they're not. They're also...
Saddam, Iraq was the most secular country of that time. Had universities, healthcare. You don't even have that here. They had a free movement of people. Women had every right. There were more women. Hold on, you can look at it. There were more women in universities as a professor in Iraq than there were men at Saddam's era. He had his bad things, like, he was ruthless. But Iraq, you have to be ruthless because there's so many groups always infighting for centuries. Now you don't have a country. Iran has half the country. You have all these militia fighting each other, and you have these people. They were fucking drilling people's heads because of Sunni, Shia, all that shit. Forget about it. The idea is that we are about the United States. Forget about the British. The British were not a scumbag in history.
Talking about timed monologues, would that be possible?
Yeah, also, kind of like he's just lying straight up because he maybe is a Sunni Iraqi or something. But if you're a Shia, you lived in like Saddam City, you were in poverty, abject poverty.
Okay, I'm gonna give you. I'm not from Iraq.
Can we get back to America? Because I believe that's like the topic.
Yeah,
but I wanted to talk more about bananas.
We had a war. Hold on. We had a war in Iraq that killed 1 million people. Doesn't that count for something?
How many people would have continued to die if we didn't intervene? How many?
What if we talk about? What if we talk about? I think another different word to talk about would be the Civil War.
Stop, everyone.
Hundreds of thousands in the war with Iran, hundreds of thousands in the war with Kuwait.
You know why we went to war? Because you told Iraq to go to get even because of the hostages.
Nobody told Iraq to attack Iran. If anything, Soviet Union armed them more so than America ever did.
It was so bad, we were sending weapons to Iran and Iraq at the same time while we were allies with Iraq. That's how fucking
both of those are anti-American.
Okay. I get it.
Doesn't know history.
This is a sore point. I get it, but we got other people that want in. We got to get there. I know. This is a large panel. It's frustrating.
Is a war criminal.
Okay. I think Philly and then Katie.
Oh, okay. So just to address something Chris said about, he said somebody mentioned America being bullies, and then he mentioned like our defense of Ukraine and how we're not bullies. But what obviously my argument against that would be our actions.
Can I just clarify? Just one tiny thing, because I don't want to cut you off. It's not that America isn't bullies. It's just out of the bullies that we have, I'm choosing the devil I know. And when it comes to America, Russia, and China, I'm going with America.
So if we're having a conversation about American hegemony and I bring up that they're bullies, your counter to that can't be well, there's these other two countries that are bigger bullies than us.
Oh, you mean like whataboutism? You mean like whataboutism, STV Philly? Yeah, like what he's engaging in? Yeah.
Right. But to that point, Spuds brought up China and what China is doing in Africa, and my response to that is still the same. That proves that America's bullies because of their non-action against China, knowing that China is another superpower.
Do you think we should go to do something against China for what they're doing?
Are you a panel?
Yeah, us being too weak to push back is.
Well, I'm gonna give you everybody space in 1 second. I'm gonna be very quick with this. My answer to your question is, Wick, should we intervene? No, because my position with the American hegemony is that we should silently wield our power and not so aggressively try to puppeteer other nations' outcomes and their fates, basically.
Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, so curious, maybe you were just projecting when you were talking about shadowboxing earlier. So this is a panel about American hegemony. And I think that if we're all going to take a vote, none of the people on my side are going to say that we prefer China or maybe Russia.
No.
I don't know. Okay? But maybe...
I'm not a tanky.
Okay. So it seems that you are going to do this thing where you continuously bring up how other alternatives are worse. Now, if you and I want to take this and start doing a really interesting conversation about I'll talk against nation states and how we formulate a world without it and so on, and you'll argue why you think it's a good idea that we have nation states, we can do that. Right now, we're just arguing about whether American wars that were for American interests were good for the countries that they violated. So if you want to talk to me about Russia or China, we can do that. And we can talk about nation states.
A lot of these places where it happened, like we originally started intervening in Afghanistan, for example, because Russia was in Afghanistan. A lot of the reasons why we intervene has to do with connections to other that are enemies to our country.
Yes, geopolitics is obviously comprised of also reacting to other countries. There is also the concept that there will be a vacuum if America simply pulls back. Again, I think it's an interesting discussion.
I don't think you should play hide the ball and not acknowledge for the reality of the situation. If you're going to criticize it and try to remove distance of it, because it's going to happen whether you acknowledge its existence or not.
I think that if American hegemony is as open to criticism and as capable and rich and powerful, it can improve itself in a way that would make it actually good. However, American hegemony sucks, actually, so it doesn't do that.
Why?
Just real quick.
Yeah,
so Spuds, just real quick, Spud.
At his job and doing.
Okay, you're cutting out. You keep cutting out. I think it's a lag issue. It's not a microphone issue. It's a lag issue. So if you
want me to try leaving and coming back?
Yeah, just leave, come backstage. As for names on the screen, I'm putting the names on the screen, but some of your names are O, right? So I don't know how you want to fix that.
Do you want us to just DM you the full names? Or
No, it's just like Daedalus Media, not Eli Monty, Katie, Impression. They're all coming up fine. So I don't know what the formatting is.
It's when Discord rolled out the update to have everyone update the names to just go fucked. I would also like to respond to what Katie just said.
Can I go ahead and respond real quick to? I just want to throw some out here because I feel like we're just getting way too far from the topic, which is American hegemony, and I think it's a really weak argument and proves like maybe American hegemony is not as great as some of the people who thought that they could come on here and defend that today think it is. If your whole defense of American hegemony is, hey, at least we're not like the guy down the street. Like, oh yeah, I just teepee houses. This guy keys cars and slashes everybody's tires every night. I'm not that bad, even though cleaning up toilet paper after a house has just been teepeed is a really hard endeavor to like do. So if your whole argument is at least we're not as bad as this dude, like. What kind of argument is that? But I'm also not surprised because considering like American propaganda and all of the pro America stances that are always taken, like a lot of the people who take and have these stances also engage in whataboutism. So it's almost as if you guys don't have an argument as to why American hegemony is so good, or actually an actual good argument for that. Because you've never heard one. Because maybe, just maybe, and it's not even maybe, this is true, American hegemony is not a good thing. Like,
right, if I can just jump in, yeah, because I've listened to what you just said, and in neither of the languages.
The fact that you just said you listened makes me skeptical.
Sentence, yeah, I can in neither of the languages I speak, I can accurately put into a sentence how fucking moronic every word of that was.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, please explain to me. Yeah, moronic, yeah, ad homs, yeah, great, amazing, yeah.
Shut up,
that would really make this easier for us. I can explain to you very easily
anime
why
profile picture.
China is incredibly relevant here. Say that America moves out of Ukraine, for instance. What do you think? What do you think happens if you think?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god! Just because we do one good thing, like in Ukraine, which we're not even doing because we give a fuck about the Ukrainians.
Like someone by waiting for the point to be finished, so he can then respond, and you can have
no, because your point is stupid. Your point is stupidity. It is such a weak argument. This idea. No. Anime profile picture. Point invalid. Point invalid. Stupid.
Okay, stop. I've been fixing your names so you can all show up on screen. So I haven't been able to interrupt this shit show. Okay. So now you're all looking better except for Spud Gun. I'll get to you in a second. But Chris, get your point out, and then Eli, you can respond.
Eli, you're not responding. I'm responding. You guys don't mix.
Go ahead.
If you
Go
think
right ahead.
Russia and China in a conversation about the validity of American hegemony is whataboutism, then I can't help but to think that you might just be fucked in the head. If you believe that the argument of the two guys are worse and therefore that's invalid is so bad, then tell me, how do you stop the US hegemony, and what is the alternative should you manage to do that? Give me some kind of a proposition on how to achieve this goal that you feel so passionately is achievable.
Hey, well, that's the thing. I'm not 100% certain. Wait, hold on. I want to respond to that real quick. I don't mind, y'all. Let me respond to that real quick. So that question is such a simplistic question for such a gigantic topic or situation we're talking about. Again. So no. I know your question. I'm responding to it. I got you. So the thing is that, again, like I said, this is a complex thing. It's going to take actions from citizens. It's going to take more citizens banding together and standing up and actively protesting and standing against the American hegemony. Stop feeding into it. Stop feeding into or contributing to this monster and to this disgusting system. Form some sort of class solidarity. Learn about, the people around you for when, we stop going to work and stop contributing to the system. Learn about the people around you so we can build community, build class solidarity, help each other, and no longer need these capitalists that are waging all of these fucking wars where poor brown people go, not even brown people, but poor people in general go to bomb and kill other poor people in other countries, in many cases that are brown. And I know it is probably not the answer that you want, but that's what it's going to take. It's going to be really hard, but that's basically our only way out of this. We can't just sit here and be like, oh, well, I'm just one guy. Let me just go along with and agree with what's going on. And again, you keep bringing up the Ukraine shit. I can acknowledge that America has done good things while also acknowledging that the other shit that it's done, like inspire what the Nazis did to the fucking Jews and shit back during the Holocaust, is some fucking abhorrent shit. That is because of the American hegemony.
The American hegemony did not exist.
We don't have an answer, right?
Okay, American has not been a hegemonic power since.
Yes, it did.
It only existed since the 90s. Yes.
Right, but hegemony pertains to influence. We still had influence over these people because we inspired their literal massacring.
We had a mortal adversary that wanted the destruction of. We had a mortal adversary that wanted the destruction of America and was enslaving hundreds of millions of people. So for one, only after the fall of the Soviet Union,
you're talking about Hitler, right? You're talking about Hitler, right? You're talking about Hitler, right?
Capitalism.
Hold on. You want to talk about Hitler, right?
I don't want to talk about Hitler.
Germany,
I want to talk about America.
Yeah. You know what they were doing? You know what happened over here in America?
Exactly
they were supporting the Nazis up until fucking Pearl Harbor. The Nazis were pretty fucking popular in the American.
The Nazis. FDR.
Yes, we were. We had whole ass Nazi parties in this bitch.
FDR was actively working against Hitler.
Yeah, and you know what happened? You know what happened? A lot of Americans were anti-FDR because they supported the Nazis.
Hello, you're missing the point.
Can I finish my point? Can I make an actual point that
is it gonna be good or is it gonna be debunkable in 2 seconds?
You gotta okay, stop. Hold on. Everyone stop for a minute. Gang, we have to let people finish what they are saying before we interject. We just have to. Okay.
Sorry.
Otherwise we'll never get anything anywhere with this. We'll never get any kind of through line on this conversation. Prussian, finish.
Sorry, there's no weed in my system.
Then we'll go to Omar, and then we'll go to Katie.
I want I want to make a very simple point. You heard a lot of people shitting on America in stages where it was not the hegemony. It was a regional power, sure, in North America, and it was clinging to the regional power against other powers like European powers, imperialist powers that were gobbling all of the globe. And secondly, everyone's shitting on these wars in the Middle East. But in reality, what other choice did we have except to fight an Islamist Wahhabist movement that was aiming to destroy Western way of life and killing our citizens on the daily? All of these dictators that we toppled funded terrorism, like admittedly so. Saddam Hussein, for example, Katie, I think you're Israeli, if I understand. Saddam Hussein had $25,000 for every Palestinian suicide bomber
right.
for
You gotta fight for their
decades,
freedom.
and he was proud about that. Libya and Gaddafi was that we toppled again. Another, oh, how bad that was killing UK citizens and proud about it. The Lockby affair, when they blew up the plane over Scotland. These are terrorist regimes that were actively allowing Islamist elements to rise in their nations. And what are we supposed to do? Sit there, tolerate it for decades? We invaded, and our democracy projects failed. And you can criticize incompetency of certain leaders of America, but the fact that we needed to do something when a war declaration of the scale of 9/11 happened, that's just a fact. You can't
Wait,
ignore it.
9/11? Why do you think 9/11 happened, man? Oh, let Omar, go. It's your
Let
turn.
me react, because I'm an expert on this. First of all, we created this Islamic movement. We went to Afghanistan to fight the Russians. We trained Al Qaeda. We gave them weapons. We used to call them Mujahideen. We used to romance them and put them in our magazines and our TV. After we destroyed the Soviet Union, we left them to their own devices. And we created Al Qaeda after we left Afghanistan. Hold on. Qaeda is our fucking creation. No, don't shake your head. You don't know anything. You just talking points.
You don't know
Zionists talking points. Hold on. I'm from the region. Second of all, we created ISIS. Why? Hold on. We created ISIS. How did we create ISIS? We destroyed a country that was viable. It had a ruler. It had an army. It had everything. We dismantled the army. We did everything. What we did in Iraq, we left Iraq, and what happened? ISIS came. Everywhere we go, some fucking crazy shit happened. Hold on. We went into fucking Iran in 1953. The CIA assassinated the prime minister who was freely elected by the Iranians. After we left, we put the Shah. The Shah got overthrown by the fucking mullahs in Iran. Who created the fucking Iranian revolution? We did, because we fuck around with other people's country and their way of going and their stability. There's a problem. This guy, whoever it is in the red hat, I don't know his name. He just repeated some Zionist bullshit. 25,000. Palestinians have the fucking right to defend themselves, okay? And if you don't like that, go drink from the fucking Atlantic Ocean if you don't like that. You understand? You don't know anything about the Middle East. You don't know nothing.
So pro-terrorism argument.
Hold on.
Great, pro-terrorism.
Hold on. 9/11, we created all these.
America deserved 9/11, guys. Hell yeah.
We created. Hold on. Let me finish.
There we go. Hassan Piper here.
Hold on. Okay, Hassan Parker. We created the fucking Al Qaeda. We trained Osama bin Laden. We gave them weapons. We gave them stingers. We gave them everything. After that,
That part is true.
They came and they attacked us. It is of our own making.
The Mujahideen and Taliban are two different organizations. You know that. Mujahideen fought with us in the form of Northern Alliance against the Taliban.
Listen.
The Taliban, Wahhabi Taliban took over Afghanistan from the Mujahideen. You know that, right? You're from the region, but you don't know the region. So you clearly you're regurgitating talking points that are just wrong.
It didn't exist. Taliban did not exist. The Mujahideen were there first when they fought the Russian. The
Mujahideen were there first, and then the Taliban took over Afghanistan.
We trained
the Mujahideen. Most of
hold on. We trained. Let me talk, man. We trained the Mujahideen. Go look it up. Just Google, man. You don't have to be a fucking idiot. It is our own making. We gave them the weapons. Then we say, okay, guys, just we leave you to own devices. Do what you got.
Omar, if I could ask Prussia a question real quick. Prussian, excuse me. Can you still, man, when people say that America deserved 9/11, could you give me your best faith interpretation of that statement?
He said that. I say that.
American,
the fucking guy. I didn't say that. Hold on.
No, he asked him.
He asked me the question. Hold on. Hey, hold on. He asked me the question.
No, he didn't.
No, I was asking Prussian. I was asking Prussian.
Okay, because I understood that.
American
that.
interference with Middle Eastern affairs to secure and safeguard the largest global oil supply united
Have it.
the Islamist forces into a cohesive force, and that Islamist force then did 9/11.
We
And so,
created
if
it.
America was not as interfereful in the region, 9/11 might not have happened.
We
That's the
created
argument.
it. We created it.
Okay,
Okay.
we gotta get some other people in. We gotta get some other people
Go
in.
ahead, go ahead,
Gotta
man.
get some other people in.
He's
Katie,
saying stuff he hears on TV. This guy with the hat. What's your name, man?
Just call me Tom.
I mean, you just fucking repeating shit that Zionists feed you every day. That's all it is.
You
Katie.
repeat Hassan Piker talking points, which is
you
way
guys,
worse.
you guys can fight about it over later. We'll get into
Over
it.
tea and crumpets. Over tea and
Overly-
crumpets.
Yeah, Katie,
Meet
go
me
ahead.
outside. Meet me outside, like that girl
How
said.
about that? There's that American hegemony going. Yeah.
Katie, I
Uh,
want to hear from Katie. I don't want to hear from anyone else right now. Katie, have your point. Take your
If
point.
Steve, if Stevie wants to talk, like he can go before me. I don't mind.
Oh, so
STV Philly, you mean? Go ahead.
Yes, I call him Stevie.
she said.
Oh, them Steve.
Can't see their names. That's why.
So that's funny. All right, so the conversation is about, is hegemony good, American hegemony good, or is it bad? Like, so when I hear that question, what comes to my mind is, do we benefit from it, or do we agree with the methods that come from the outcomes of American hegemony? If you're living in America and you're probably making less than I'd say like $60,000 a year, and you're living in one of these
Say it. Fucking
poorer
say it.
cities, you probably wouldn't agree with the American hegemony, and your point of view largely has to do with your position in life. So if things are smooth sailing for you, if you don't have much friction in your life in terms of like social friction, if you have a good job, well paying, you have a family and everything, you're probably going to be in favor of American hegemony because it benefits you. And
It's a benefit,
Well,
brother.
no.
You got it wrong.
Wait, hold on, Daedalus. Why are you going? Oh my god.
Yeah, I want.
people-
Hey,
people-
I do want
That's
to.
an awful
I know
lot
what
of
I want to
assumptions
give
about.
Daedalus some space.
For
Daedalus,
Lockheed,
go
it's
ahead.
for Lockheed Martin. It's all for the industrial fucking weapon industry. You're not making money. It's the fucking weapon makers who are making money. Even
Daedalus.
the Ukrainian war.
Thank you.
Daedalus.
Anyway, that's an awful lot of assumptions about a person's status in life that suggest what they might think about foreign affairs, which we just know from American
To get some of that
elections isn't true.
money that everyone's assuming we have.
Yeah.
when we
I
talk
can
about
sure
American
use it.
hegemony, are we just talking about foreign affairs? Because I know there's more components to that than just foreign affairs. We've been
Right,
talking
exactly.
about foreign
Like-
affairs
like
this whole
not just-
time,
not-
but it does affect domestic policy, and it does affect us
Exactly.
in this country as well.
Exactly.
Sure, I'll concede that what we do overseas affects us here, but what we do overseas also affects other people elsewhere. This is not just a simple issue of what my position is on life. If I'm going to be looking at a situation overseas, I have to take into account what they have going on there too. It's not just about me. You understand what
But do
I'm
you
saying?
ever? Do you? Can I?
America
Yeah, so then
has
I would hear,
It's
I would hear
not
you
just
guys
about me.
arguing about the
Okay.
atrocities all around the world that are happening, that America has hands on, Syria, Israel,
Say it, STV.
Palestine.
Say it.
There's so many other problems around this world that America has their hands in, but I don't hear people talking about that and about the bad part of the hegemony. I mean, we can sit here and say
Obama-
like we're
Plenty of people
promoting
talking about
democratic.
what
just wanna-
they
I just
think
wanna
the
point
bad
out-
parts of the hegemony are. That's
I just
basically.
wanna- I just want to point out that what STV Philly is. Sorry. I just wanted to point
Daedalus
out that
hasn't
what
gotten a
STV
lot of speaking time. I want to make sure he gets some speaking time.
I just want to say this one part. I just want to say this one part because it's probably going to
Can you
drive
be
this in a
quick?
different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, be quick. I just want to point out that what STV Philly is talking about right now is privilege. Go ahead.
Daedalus.
So we also got to look at what we are looking at as part of how hegemony provides. It provides a global order. It provides an international business language. It provides international trade. Our Navy ensures freedom of trade for any neutral shipping anywhere in the world. You would not see that with the Chinese Navy or
Okay.
the Indian Navy.
With that. Yeah, we agree with that. We have no problem with that.
Katie.
We have problem with the bad policies. That's
yes,
the problem.
but these are also the parts of hegemony. You can't just say, well, all of this bad
Like-
stuff outweighs
yeah,
this good
that's
stuff.
okay.
Okay, so
Ergo-
here's my counterpoint, and it
How
also
many times do I have to
counters-
repeat myself?
Yeah,
Okay, we agree
the
with
other
that.
side
There's
is
nothing wrong with that.
confused. the other side is confused. We want them to say that American hegemony is cringe, and then say, but America does some good stuff, and also there are badder, bigger wolves out there. And then they think we're saying, oh, we want to take it all away. Don't do any of the good stuff. Don't intervene in Ukraine. Don't allow for trade. Don't provide humanitarian support. So again, it's really weird, this kind of straw manning that is happening. So that's the first point that I wanted to make. Like, this panel is about the American hegemony, and you guys can continue crying about how it's the best we have, but the panel is, you could have said, it's cringe, but it's the best we have. And instead, speaking of American hegemony, your choice was to go, it's based actually, which is American brainwashing, by the way. It's the response to criticism. Here's an interesting, so we seem to all be in kind of a disagreement around like when America became a hegemony. I just don't know.
I got next after Katie.
1823.
18 or 19?
1823, when we declared the Monroe
Shortly after
Doctrine.
World War One. Yeah.
1823,
After
when we
World
No,
declared-
no.
Okay.
They're saying, so Omar is saying 1823 after the Monroe
1923 is,
Doctrine.
I think what he's saying, yeah.
No,
No,
he's saying 19.
1823 as in the Monroe, the
What did he say?
implementation of the Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah, that's what he's saying,
Oh,
right?
okay,
Is that-
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's some disagreement. Can we all disagree? Can we all agree that there's some disagreement about when America became the world hegemony? My
Sure.
point is just that whether we completely agree on the date or not, we cannot completely overlook the history of America and what brought America from a regional hegemony to a world hegemony. Because when we test whether a hegemony is good for the rest of the world or not, whether it's good for generalities or not, like Persian is saying, like how America is defending other countries and helping them and liberating them and all that crap. Yeah, the intentions of the countries matter. And except for Ukraine, America hasn't had a good intervention in a war since World War II.
Careful, Katie.
Do you not think the Korean War was a good intervention?
There we go.
One more thing that I did wanted to say.
Didn't we lose that
regarding
war?
Anything good,
Draw.
anything good about, I'm going to tell you the good thing that we did. We brought democracy to Japan. That's good. We brought democracy to Korea. That's good. We brought democracy to Taiwan. That's good. Sometimes we do good. I mean, the Marshall Plan was good in Europe to rebuild Europe. The whole idea is we have problem is when the weapon industrial makers.
Wait. I'm not done talking. Sorry.
Good, Katie.
I get the whole like bringing democracy shit. I don't know who. Again, I guess it's the entitlement of world hegemony to think it's their job to bring things to other countries and make them better and save them or whatever. That's fine. The problem is, Prusa, is when you're talking about, when you were arguing about the Iraq War earlier, and Omar was talking about how 1 million people died, and you said, well, many people more have died. America chooses who it benevolently helps. America isn't fighting North Korea. America isn't fighting China. There are many countries in the world right now who need intervention, but America cannot extract resources from there. So America is out of that. Syria is a great example, by the way. So yeah, when you're talking about America doing great things for countries, you need to also keep in mind that America is doing that because they have enough excuses to get something out of those countries. They're not going around helping.
I'm sorry. You're
I
saying that
wanna
America was
point
not
out,
involved in Syria?
What?
You're saying that
involved.
America was not involved in Syria? Because they
No,
very much
I-
were up till what, 2019 or 2018?
Yeah, that's
I
great.
can tell
it was
you-
So,
Still there. We're still there. We're still there. We're
No,
still in the
she
oil.
knows. She knows
All the
that,
way on
yeah.
down.
America's too
Yeah.
involved in Syria. She's saying.
So I just want to say, like, again, because people still keep bringing up, like, oh, look at all the good we've done. No one's denying that we have done good. The thing, I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say this. Maybe I just keep having to say it because people don't have another argument. But just because we've done good does not mean that A, we are good, or B, that
Try to jump in.
that it overshadows the bad and horrible things that we have done. And to piggyback off of Katie's point about what year we became a hegemony, and people were saying, like when I brought up World War II, we weren't a hegemony back then. I think that really matters, considering the fact that hegemony is about influence and the role that a country or nation ever plays in influencing other countries and other nations. And the fact of the matter is, and if you guys, if I need to go, you know what, just go do it yourself after the panel. If you need to go look this shit up, go after the panel, go fucking do that. But your opinions do not change the fact that we inspired a lot of the mistreatment that the Nazis did to the people over there in Germany and in other countries that was largely inspired by us. Fuck. Hitler loved Henry Ford to death. He thought Henry Ford was a fucking icon, okay? Because of how methodical he was and shit and how efficient he was. And of course, he implemented a lot of that shit into his regime and into his concentration camps and shit.
Okay. We do have a lot of people who want in, and we can't.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, we gotta go. Spud,
The girl in the middle there.
Spud Gun, go ahead. You're up.
Spud, go.
Okay.
Hopefully your internet
Mic work now. So, do you all realize that at least taking the opposite of our argument, you're essentially saying, well, we acknowledge has done some good things like with Ukraine, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they've done all. If you're saying that what we're arguing is whataboutism, then you're just doing whataboutism too.
Sorry, I didn't hear your full argument. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, you're cutting out again.
Yeah.
It's
You're doing whataboutism because we're dismissing the good stuff, just like they're dismissing the bad stuff.
Engaging in whataboutism. No, you're not. No, I'm not. Because I'm talking about within the confines of America. Within the confines of America, because what we're talking about is fucking America. You people are talking about goddamn countries.
Okay. Oh my God! I don't want to mute people, but I will. Spud Gun. I don't know what it is with your connection, but it's fucking up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I even yesterday and it was working. It must be my internet or something like that.
So your internet, something's wrong with your internet right now. I don't know if you need to reset your router or what, but it's just not working. I'm sorry.
I still want to.
That's okay. Well,
try resetting Discord.
Try.
Yeah, I'll try closing everything out.
Okay. That's fine. I want to go to Chris. I want to go to Prussia.
Yeah, I keep hearing you guys say that this conversation is about the American hegemony. Therefore, this is what we have to focus on, the American part of it and the domestic shit that's happening. Hegemony, as per the definition on fucking Google, refers to the leadership or dominance, especially by one state or social group, over others, right? The others part is pretty fucking crucial to this conversation. And when I started my opening statement by literally saying that is the best we have and that I acknowledge it's not perfect, but it is the best option that we have on the table, all I got was Eli crying about.
That's not all you said. That's not all you said. That's not all you said.
It's not over other superpowers. It's over
Let him finish.
You know what?
No, this is bullshit.
Let him finish. After he finishes, you can tell him it's bullshit.
I got next. Talking about this in the context of the three big dogs is literally the only way to have this conversation. And I haven't been given a single fucking prescription as of yet from the folks against hegemony, other than Eli saying that we need to gather around a campfire and sing fucking Kumbaya. And
that's not what the fuck I said. You fucking know it.
Just let me know so I can roll myself before the Russians get here, because you're a fucking imbecile.
All you have, I just want to point out, Chris, hold on. I just want to point out, Chris, that all you have, are not even arguments. All you have is just calling me an idiot and saying, oh, you don't actually have a point. Bitch, motherfucker, you have not. None of you people on this panel. And I'm gonna ask Katie, and I'm gonna ask STV Philly, right? Have these people brought up any sort of argument to actually defend American hegemony and prove or bring up why it's actually good without bringing up another country and saying, at least we're not this guy?
Two or raised.
Two? Okay. Maybe I just didn't hear those. Go ahead.
How can you be angry at me for insulting you when you're ignoring part of the definition of the topic?
I'm not ignoring part of the definition. I'm just demanding better.
Eli?
Yeah, but we don't have to agree with it 100%. Listen, China is our Frankenstein. We created China. invested trillions of dollars. Now we're saying, oh, the Chinese are coming to get us. We are so bad that we have an embargo against Cuba because it's a communist country, and we got them embargo and sanction for 60 years. But we invested in China that has nuclear weapons, that is really communist, and it's still communist, and it's a danger to our national security. But Cuba, no, we're gonna stop these motherfuckers. Don't let them eat. Don't let them buy stuff, and keep them under sanction for 60 years. Hold on. Problem is, we're not talking about China. We are, as American citizens, saying that our country sometimes does bad shit. That's what we're saying, and we're trying to tell our country, don't do it. We don't agree with everything you do. If we were for democracy, the Arab Spring came, and they overthrew all the fucking totalitarian governments. What happened? We shut our doors, and we let them take over one more again. The deep state took over all over again. We're not about democracy. The issue here is that...
Also, I just want to...
We got to get more people. Omar, finish.
We're serving the weapon makers. The people who makes the weapons are making the money. You know what's happening in Russia? It's just white on white crime. This is what it is. White people killing each other.
White on white crime. White on white crime.
Chris Speaks, we cannot hear you say anymore that you don't have any arguments against hegemony, because Omar has been given, I think he's brought up probably 6 or 7 examples now of atrocities that have happened across the world due to America's involvement. So if you can engage with some of that instead of straw man everything, communist.
I'll clarify the reason why I'm like this fucking anal about the direction of the conversation, and then after that I'll go quiet for a little bit again. Brewski, you're wearing sunglasses indoors. Like you went off ranting about fucking bananas.
Hey, why don't you use your time to actually make an argument for once, dog?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to clarify to STV Philly why I'm so fucking anal about this particular angle of the conversation. No. I live in Eastern Europe, which means that I live in a place that
the epicenter,
directly under the control of the Russians under the Warsaw Pact, which means that the US hegemony is probably one of the only reasons why the current leading problem for adults in Poland is obesity and not fucking starvation. Which means that if the US, if it's so bad, if it pulls out, if the hegemony is this fucking horrid that we just can't have it anymore, then somebody is going to pick
idiot.
up.
Nobody's saying
that. Or maybe here's what we could do. We could arm your country.
Can I
let him finish.
It's going to be Russia.
Okay.
Which is why I'm constantly hitting this in the context of the 3 big hegemonies and what happens if America doesn't have the control that it has, which is ultimately why, despite the fact that America is not perfect, it's not fucking star-spangled awesome, and it has done some horrid shit, find me a single entity of the top fucking 10 strongest economies in the world who doesn't have a history of fucking shit up. I choose the hegemony that's given me...
I mean, we have a history of fucking shit up.
I will answer you after
I'll answer you. We have a history of fucking shit up.
The freeloader from Eastern Europe, freeloading off the European community.
Just let Pruzan speak, and then I'll answer you.
Yeah, so the other side, for some reason, hopes that America never defends itself against anything. I get it. I don't like war, but sometimes you have to fight.
You're saying that.
No, let me finish my point. But the reality of the situation, all the examples you brought up of America bad is either one, like certain examples, if you brought up, I would have nothing to say. The drug war, the lack of investment in their region of the world, in South America. Like, if you brought those examples, I would agree. Yeah, like in South America, the U.S. should have been...
Drug war. You just cracked to the black neighborhoods. What drug war?
No, I'm talking about what the drug war does in the hegemonical sense to Southern and Central America, not just like as a internal policy, which is not the point of this discussion. I don't think.
To black neighborhoods and destroy black neighborhoods. That was our fucking.
Finish your point.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of the things we enjoy, like cheap gas, cheap products, and overall prosperity.
Will you drive, motherfucker?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna mute you. Okay, Prussia, finish.
Yeah. A lot of what we enjoy is because America uses its influence to ensure prosperity to its allies and ensure economic downturn to authoritarian regimes. Look, people said we're not fighting China. We're fighting an economic war with them right now. A lot of the bills Biden even passed, like the CHIPS Act, is a direct affront to Chinese influence. We're fighting, like hegemonically, the U.S. is fighting these wars because it wants to provide security and economic prosperity to its, I guess, influence, the hegemonic influence they have. And for you guys, and if we dismiss that as just internally bad because the Chinese are not doing as well as they could be, well then I guess you're just hoping that the U.S. capitulates its power completely and lets everyone else prosper at its expense.
So no one literally said that ever. I will explain to you the same. I will explain to you and Kiri's at the same time. Just quickly, when I said you're not fighting China, obviously I don't mean in an economic sense that there are geopolitical trade issues. I meant that since a direct comparison was made about lives being saved, there are obviously countries that are murdering a lot of people right now that America is not intervening because they cannot exploit those countries in beneficial ways. Just do very quickly. Curious. So I understand you live in Poland and you're worried about the Russians marching on you. However, you'd be surprised that no one on this panel says that America should let Russia march on you. That's the thing. No one on this panel is saying that America can't engage in self-defense, that America hasn't done good things, that America doesn't use its influence to also do things that benefit other countries. We are saying, specifically, Persian, with your example of like America uses its influence to benefit its allies, yes, it's doing it on the direct back of other countries that it's exploiting and harming, that they don't care about. And then we're saying that's bad, actually. Maybe you should use your influence to not just favor some and not favor others. Maybe if you want to act like the benevolent ruler of the world, you should actually be that instead of being, but America is not that. America is a nation state with its own interests. And to pretend like America has something beyond that is just falling for American propaganda. Every nation state is doing its own interests. Okay?
So you're saying America should intervene more because they're not intervening equally. So they should invade China.
I would love to be the greatest.
As for example, you're saying we couldn't exploit China.
I can tell you that I used to be a liberal. And I used to think, like, for Israeli people, I grew up in a culture that said that America is the world police and America should intervene, that people in Israel are very upset that America doesn't intervene as much. There were a lot of calls for America to intervene in Syria when that started. However, you know what changed my mind? When I realized there wasn't a single war in the last 50 years that America entered that wasn't for its own interests, that fucked over the countries that went in it. And then I realized that American police is just like American hegemony in the sense that the police is just going to fuck you over instead of protecting you. Okay?
Name one. Name
whole
one
ass black person right here.
Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam.
So Afghanistan was a direct response.
Hold on. Omar, you have a question? What's your question?
Yeah, I want to respond. He said the war on drug. There was no war on drug. The war on drug was created by the Nixon administration.
Okay.
Hold on, to fight the leftist movement, the black movement, like the Black Panthers, like used it as a vehicle to get into these areas and destroy these neighborhoods.
Yeah, I can see that. Hold
on. It's a no fact. Hold on. It got so bad in the 80s. They introduced crack. Black neighborhoods, $5, and the whole black neighborhood decimated it, old, young, and everything. There was no war on drugs. Hold on. The United States is not fighting with China. I do the stock market all day. There's 100 fucking Chinese companies are listed in the stock market in New York. We created China. 30 years ago, China was just nothing but fucking cartoons of fucking farmers. They were poverty. They had nothing. But we infused billions and trillions of dollars in there to get the $1 an hour or 50 cents for workers. We created China. Not in war with China. The only it is that China has
China actively open. Wasn't that us trying to cooperate with China? Like literally, China opened its doors. Welcome in.
No. It opened. We did it in 1972 in order to take. it
Yeah,
away from
China
the-
was very
Hold on.
receptive
I'm
to
sorry,
that.
your
And
assertion is that we
like-
made China in 1972.
We opened it. Nixon opened China as a way to get it out of the Russian communist orbit. But we invested in the 1990s. In the 1990s, we threw hundreds of trillions of dollars. Apple, all these big companies. We made this Frankenstein, and all of a sudden we made all that money. Oh, the monster is coming. We need strong country. I need a strong China. I want a strong Russia because it's going to keep us honest. Once you have an honest enemy, we have a big enemy. It keeps you honest. Remember what happened when the Russian fell? We went to war in Iraq. We went to war in Afghanistan. There was nobody there in the Security Council to say no or to stand up against us. We were going to destroy ourselves because you need an enemy to keep you honest and to keep you up on your feet.
We
Yeah,
need
because
to.
of
Yeah,
war,
we need
so
to. We
great.
need to. We need to get some other people in here. I want to give space
people.
to. Yeah, I want to give space to Daedalus, who had some thoughts. Go ahead.
Again, American has not been a hegemonic power for 70, 80, 90 years. We competed with the Soviet Union in the Cold War. We only really came into that position in the 90s. So, like, I understand the weight of history, and no one is going to say that any nation, let alone America, has had a pristine history. But that doesn't factor into what we're talking about. We're talking about a system of stability that underpins how the nations interact. We're talking about a system that has kept wars small. I'm not saying that American hegemony is the greatest thing ever, but it is necessary.
When you say small, what do you mean by that?
I mean, we haven't seen a general European war at all.
Okay. What? Again, when you say small,
And that's because of
what do you mean by that? Because, like, wait, hold on. You said we haven't seen a European war.
No,
I just want to know what that has to do with anything.
That's not what I said. I said we haven't seen a general European war. We saw the British hegemony decline in the early 1900s. We saw 2 world wars and a couple million people dead. Now we have nuclear weapons. It's in our interest to avoid another world war.
So you think that the reason why we had those 2 world wars is because there was no country that was like a hegemony that was forcing its will onto everyone else?
No, there was a decline in the British hegemony.
Wait. So it sounds like we should all be pro like nuclear hegemony. Then it doesn't sound like an pro-American hegemony argument.
America is the current standing hegemony. Do you agree?
What? Yes, but what does that have to? Go ahead.
Okay, let me try to translate. Let me try to translate because I think I know what you're saying, and if I'm wrong, Daedalus, please let me know.
Sure.
What he is saying, though, is that if American hegemony declines, much like we saw when the British hegemony, it's the STV, you got me doing it. When the British hegemony declines as well, we saw World War II, we saw World War I, we saw all these terrible things happen. What he is saying is that if American hegemony goes away, what you think is bad and atrocities now is going to be infinitely worse.
Yes, but he
Increases
also thinks
instability.
that the stability that we're
Partly,
experiencing
yes.
right now is because of
Partly
American
because of
hegemony.
American
So yeah, I
hegemony.
disagree.
But what if, here's an idea. Here's an idea. I have a general a thought, right? So what if, to prevent this from happening, we just instead bolstered other nations, like not just with weapons, but also economically, gave them a little bit more economic independence, all that type of stuff, and then dissolved the hegemony and stopped what if instead we just help people just to help them and help them get better rather than
That would be outside hegemonic thinking.
rather than what Katie said, which is that we only do it to
So you
benefit
look at a list
ourselves.
of countries to which the United States provides the most foreign aid to.
Europe spent 8 years supporting Russia, investing billions into Russia, and Russia turned around and invaded Ukraine anyway.
Hold on.
Russia and Europe were buddies like that for years.
Do you
and
think
years.
when he says support countries, he means support countries like Russia?
What
Is
else
that
do we
the countries
invent?
you think we're
Do we
talking about?
I just want to point out. I said non-militarily.
One example.
Again, nobody supported Russia militarily. We traded with them openly. We had
that's not it.
Okay, enough.
Just one example, please. One example. Look what we're doing in Venezuela. Venezuela has the #1 research in oil under its feet. came under the disguise, oh, we need democracy for Venezuela. All of a sudden, we want democracy. Put sanction, we froze their assets. Now the fucking people, they have 7 million have fled Venezuela. They fucking eating off the street. They have no money. They're poor, and they are the richest country in fucking South America. Why? Because we want their oil. They refuse to give us a cut. We just came up with this shit. We tried to overthrow the government during Trump. What are we doing in Venezuela? Why? What has Venezuela did to the United States? Has Venezuela invaded the United States? Has Venezuela had armies in other countries? Why can't Venezuela sell us oil? Why? Why can't it get its money out of the banks? Why? Why do we do this to these countries? Why do we starve countries with 30 million? Now you have 7 million fucking Venezuelans all over the world and border in Guatemala trying to get in the United States, dying on fucking boats. Our politics sometimes are fucking evil. We have evil people in the State Department who do shit because they want to make money. It's all about the money. It's all about fucking mafia style. Give us some of that oil money. If
Speaking of money, Speaking of money, $20 from Step on Snake to say, Wick, this panel is a shit show. Thank you for putting it together. Keep up the good work. They're giving me money. They're super chatting it.
I'm the best. I'm the good looking of all the guys.
I want to say, first off, false. Second off, I want to go ahead and chime in right now, and I want to say that hegemony is not just about like military, and I feel like we're focusing a lot on like our military might.
Eli,
but,
we are all raising our hands. Fuck you.
Fine.
Philly,
I'm gonna let people go.
Philly, then Katie.
But he's not doing that.
Stability we were talking about
Really
here.
quickly. Just really quickly.
Without Wick is the hegemonic power of this panel, as bad of a shit show as it is.
And there's no stability here.
Anyway,
what does that mean?
It would have been
There's
worse
no
without me. Go ahead, Philly.
I want to put my stake in the ground right now and let everybody know where I stand. The prompt to this was, and I'm just going to make this really quick. The prompt to this was, is American hegemony good or bad? That's a very, obviously it's a nuanced question. It's hard to answer, like it's good or it's bad. But I told Wick I'd take the bad side for sake of this panel. And, I'd try to argue in that case. So just let me give you very quickly my critiques of American hegemony. I don't think it should go away. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. But here are my critiques of it, and here are the things that I think the problems it creates. So, for one, power imbalances. Obviously, we've been talking about that. It limits the autonomy and the ability of other nations or smaller nations, I should say, to kind of make their own choices, because when you have this 800-pound gorilla in the room making all the decisions, smaller countries are going to defer to America and what they want, and we've seen this play out time and time again. And there's only three things, so very quickly. Second, obviously, the cultural imperialism that America exports to other countries, and it kind of tries to make it their standard. And then we're talking about the stability it creates, but it also creates a lot of instability in the sense that what we talked about, does America deserve 9/11 and the backlash from our choices that we make around the world. So those in particular are my criticisms. Okay. And we can go deeper into those, but it's not like I think American hegemony bad. No, America bad. America needs to mind their business. I don't want an isolationist country. But those things I think are substantial and valuable critiques of American hegemony.
Okay. I think I have a lot of sympathy with what. If I'll just make this 1 minute, Wick, and then I'm sorry, I shouldn't have jumped in like that, but. I have a lot of sympathy with a lot of what you're saying, Philly. It's just when the final bit of the prompt was saying that, like, should we be in favor of the expansion of the influence that America has? We are very stuck still on a part of the argument where we seem to phrase it in the sense of America sort of fucking fisting their way into the economy. But what about all of the countries around the world that are actively welcoming the American economy and the American influence? What about all of the sovereign nations and sovereign actors who get to make their own decisions, who are actively wanting the American support and wanting to be under the umbrella of America? What do we say to all of those actors? And there's fucking a lot of them, it seems, because there's a
join NATO.
Why... Right, yes, but then
many of those countries wouldn't be eligible
at this
for
point,
NATO membership.
Even that aside, even if I agree with Philly 100%, join NATO, sure, but we have a real life example currently, right now, geopolitics 2023, of a country trying to do that and a different hegemony saying, hey, you know what, fuck you sideways and twice on a Sunday, and it's not happening. So then again, we go back into the conversation about the other big dogs and the other hegemonies, which we are
No,
unwilling
you
to
bring
have.
us there. We don't go back. You bring us there again.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Katie.
Well, I want to say,
Well, no, Katie.
No.
Katie was first.
Shut up.
Okay.
So very quickly, curious, what we say to
Chris.
those people.
Chris, Katie, Chris, like the name
No,
Chris.
I call you curious.
Yeah, but
That's
that's
what I
like,
call you.
all right, Greg, fire away.
Okay, Greg. So here's the thing, right? I hear you, and I'm very sympathetic, okay? And for the 1 millionth time in this conversation, I understand that people want to feed off the hand of America versus off the hand of Russia or China, okay?
That's it.
I think
USA.
that's not the winning conditions, okay?
USA.
That's not. If those were your
Can I get
winning
a
conditions, oh
amen?
my god.
we win.
Okay, just to be very quickly, just because you are being, people can vie to be exploited because they don't have better options, right?
Thank you, Katie.
Like,
I was going to
it's
say that shit.
It's not like a complicated notion. Like, you can still harm someone even though you're the best option that they have.
Yep.
So, and I know you know this because you're an adult with a brain. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about with you, that again, I cannot pronounce your name, but the guy who just screamed that you won, that you didn't. I want to talk about stability, because you are talking about how there's stability and how with the American hegemony like decreasing, that might cause instability. But you also seem to think that the American hegemony as a world power is not very, like, what time frame would you put on that? Like since the 90s, you said, or did I misunderstand that?
Here, let me put you an exact date. The fall of the Soviet
Please
Union
do.
in 1991.
1991.
Yes.
Okay, so you're telling me that America has, in your view, America has been a world superpower or a world hegemony for 30 years, and that has caused the world to significantly stabilize, and that if it decreases, there will be a lot of destabilization
Yes.
in 30 years.
I beg your pardon. No. The past 30 years has been the state of affairs. This has been the state of affairs, yes.
Okay. I think that you give a lot of credit to something that you either don't, are not willing to acknowledge, that has long predecessing decades before it that obviously influence it. Like, I'll agree with you that American power in geopolitics like helps stabilize the world, but if you're gonna say from 1991, I'm gonna say no, that's stupid. Way before
you might not
that.
understand what hegemony is then, because
Okay,
hegemony is
please
the
do.
domination
Explain
of
to
a
me.
single polity over the economics and the military and the cultural systems throughout the world. There was not a case where there was a single polity dominating during the course of the Cold War, because the Soviet Union and the United States were vying for control. Hegemony starts at the point at which there is no clear rival that can stand up to
Opposition.
the other polity. Yes, that's what hegemony is. Like, there's history, and we can all acknowledge history, and that's literally what I do. But still, like, you have to at some point accept the definitions that have been put forth by political scientists and historians.
I have
who
no
theorized
problem.
about this
So
for
it
generations.
seems that you credit American hegemony to the stability that we're experiencing, and I call bullshit on that. I will call American influence before it was a hegemony too, to be influenced by that. So I think that if you're going to say in the last 30 years, American hegemony has been the world hegemony, and that's why we're stable, so it decreasing is a problem, then I think you're full of shit.
Well, then I think
that
you don't have
better?
a very good grasp of history.
Okay.
I want to give Spud Gun a chance. Hopefully it's fixed. Last
Yeah,
chance, Spud Gun.
I've been afraid. Like, I don't know if
no.
it'll work.
Nope.
It was over before it began.
Oh no, Spud,
Dude,
try.
would you call my
Give her a try. Give her a go.
I
Give her a
tested it
go.
before and it sounded good. So, I'm still stuck on the fact that it seems that when saying we think the system has problems, but it is more positive than negative. It's called whataboutism, or we're deflecting. People in criticizing it will say we're not saying the entire thing is taking aspects of it, which I agree with. I think that's a great nuanced base view of it. But it seems that when we try and also provide this nuanced perspective from our, it's seen as whataboutism, and I find that to be a fit. Either it is or it's not. I don't think it's not.
I'm just going to say that if you...
No, just to respond to Spike Gun real quick, just real quick. I think the reason for that
Just real quick before you do, as a housekeeping thing, Spike Gun, maybe try turning off your camera. Maybe that'll help with the latency. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Philly.
I can too. So
this is just real quick, and then I guess it was either Daedalus.
Me.
Oh, Monty that wanted to go. Okay.
Yeah.
So Spud, to answer your question, even though you're not here, I think the problem is, and this is not a criticism of you, Wick, but the prompt was like, is hegemony good or bad? So it kind of forces us to take this unnuanced position of, yes, it is good, or yes, it is bad. And that's why you're seeing this kind of like binary of, of whataboutisms and, comparing it to this and that. I just wanted to say that real quick. Sorry.
Oh, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I just want to say,
I want to give Spud a chance to see if this is better latency. And Eli, you're next. I promise.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you try making your point about whataboutism again, and maybe you won't cut out. We'll find out.
I would agree with that. I think that may have caused some confusion from the start. I think it would just acknowledge that
still not working. I'm sorry. Okay, Eli, go ahead.
I just want to say, I've said this because I've had this conversation before. Every time you talk about something America does wrong, there's always one person that's like, but what about this country that you did not mention and don't give a shit about? And it's like, I mean, if I have something like, let's say this wind-up penguin, right? Let's say I have this wind-up penguin, and you're asking me, sell me on this wind-up penguin. If I say this wind-up penguin is not this Princess Peach figure, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, you didn't tell me anything about the fucking wind-up penguin. If your entire argument is just, I'm not that guy, or I'm not that other guy, again, I need you to just tell me, why can't you just tell me, here are all the things that are so great about, us and the things that we do. But no, it's always, hey, there's a bigger fish.
It's
no shit, Sherlock.
Positives have been touched on in this panel, though.
Just to clarify the argument as I see it, right? It's not only, hey, we're not that guy, but that other guy wants to come in and kick down your door and take all your stuff, and without us, he's going to be able to. We are the only thing.
So let us kick down your door and take all your stuff.
Well, we are the only ones standing because we're not going to do that. We're going to do other shitty things. But we are not as bad.
Socialist or communist, unless you're trying to be a socialist or communist nation.
Let me finish. That we are not as bad as we are. We are not as bad as these people, and we are protecting you from these people. And yes, we're not perfect, but you can't just list all our bad qualities and then ignore the overwhelming good that we bring in terms of stability, economic growth, and all these other things. That's the argument as
You're adding a lot to their argument. You're adding a lot to their argument.
Until you start being socialist. The global South would like a word.
You rage out every 3 seconds before you make an argument.
Yeah,
So
You're saying that, Wick. Everybody agrees with you.
I don't think they do.
No, we don't.
I don't think they do.
There's necessary evil. We have to call it out as Americans. It's for our country, for us. No, that's wrong. We should.
yeah. So
For example, if I'll just give you another example. If in Uganda, right, they passed a law making it illegal to be homosexual recently.
Their business.
It's not their but that should be something American hegemony. We should import our culture there. and change that shit.
Wait.
Okay, that sounds good, but how will we do that?
That's a fair question.
I have to correct Wick there. The whole reason why that stuff has been passed in Uganda is because of us. It's because we keep it's because we keep letting Republicans spread these lies. No. It's the truth. We keep letting Republicans spread their bullshit about trans people, about the LGBTQ plus community, about gay people in general, and it got as far as Uganda.
The Republicans aren't the sourse of that.
You sure Uganda was
If Republicans did not exist,
didn't Uganda literally just pass a law basically making it illegal? I don't think it was making it illegal to be homosexual. It was making it illegal to be trans. That's what the law was. And it's because of all of the shit that keeps going on over here, where Republicans keep getting this microphone and this pedestal to stand up and peddle all of this shit against the LGBTQ plus community.
I just think that's fundamentally false.
I'm sure the Middle East.
Go ahead. We could argue about this later. But yeah, we're not the source. Katie, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, real quick. $5 for fondue. What role does political tradition factor into this issue? Personally, I would rather have a liberal hegemon than a fascist or communist one. Okay. Katie, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm kind of glad that you got that super chat just now. I don't care about what you guys just started. Yeah. I think that what Spud brought up and then what Felix was talking about, when we're talking about like the global hegemony, we haven't really touched like exporting American culture, also exporting American values, or what you said, Wick, about like importing our culture there. How you do that is a different discussion, and how America does that is, I believe, something my side would criticize, which is part of the problem. But what I'm trying to say is that also when we were discussing how the panel was framed as like good or bad, and I'm kind of indignant about the fact that people can't say that like American hegemony is bad, and that doesn't mean that America has never done anything good or useful, or that America doesn't have a role to play in we should abolish America because American hegemony is bad. Like, that's such a weird hyperbole. So that is part of American hegemony as well in terms of culture. It's the type of cultural thinking, very like American dominance focus. And I do think that's interesting, the way that we culturally manage to get our hands into everywhere. I mean, Persian is, you said that you're not American. I'm not an American. And yet we are capable of engaging in American discourse because, you know, America exports its culture. I would be interested in hearing, Wick, how do we import not being homophobic to Uganda when a lot of people in America are pretty homophobic, though.
It's not about the homophobia, right?
They were homophobic before.
The culture, and they've like, this is not America is not the source of homophobia.
Largely because of imperialism from
no, I think she was saying, how do you export homophobia?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? There are bad ways to do that, and there are terrible ways to do. There are terrible ways to do that, and then there are less terrible ways to do that.
Yes, but you were gesturing that you were somehow better. So
yes, I do think that American culture is better than the culture in, say, Saudi Arabia.
How do you export it? Is the issue. I agree that
like,
liberal American values, trump Chinese values, okay, of the Chinese party.
But I'm not a panelist, as you said. We can have this discussion later. And I'm not dodging you. I have an answer for you. But Prussia over here is sitting. Okay, you know what? No, Prussia, sit down. I'm going to answer her, because otherwise she's going to be like, "Oh, you're just dodging me," and things like that. The way we do that is by offering economic incentives and and business deals and things like that.
Easy answer, Wick.
I'm gonna share a YouTube video in chat.
The way we can do it, the way we defeated apartheid in South Africa, NGOs, economic incentives, and boycott, investment sanctions.
We put sanctions on the people who do shitty things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, put sanctions on.
Yeah, sanctions
countries.
Are good.
Yes, sanctions are based.
I'm sorry. Homophobia has to stop. Either or we won't work with you. That's the deal.
If you do not allow,
then you have to stop thinking with yourself. Oh my fucking god!
You don't have. It's not illegal to be. It's not okay. It's not illegal to be homosexual in America.
People
It's just
actually
not.
killing
It's
gay
about to
people
be.
in America.
No, but there's a difference between
It's about
people
to be.
being homophobic and the homophobia being written into law. There's a world of difference between them.
Like the Supreme Court ruling that just passed.
That does not. Okay, that's another topic, but that does not
Oh, that's
make
another
homophobia
topic.
into law. It just doesn't make
Oh.
homophobia into law. It just doesn't. Okay.
No, just business.
Fresha,
Yes, like again, I just wanted to make a point. Like, if we talk about the idea of hegemony being good or bad, we can talk about that. Like, because you equate it to like, is war good or bad? The war in itself is always bad. It's always bad that and not everyone has 100% sovereignty. The ideal that we're pushing and why there's a lot of like whataboutism accusations and all of that is that like a framework of hegemony seems sort of inevitable in the way geopolitics works right now, and American hegemony
I'm sharing something else in the
damn
chat.
fucking good. It's pretty damn fucking good in comparison to what could be, and in comparison to what used to be, and in comparison to all the pre-existing options that exist in the current state of the world.
So I just shared two sources in chat to like back up what I said about how the U.S. played a part in pushing, or it played a part in
I have
Uganda's.
to look at those things. I don't have time to do that right now, but we can at another time. But I just
Then
again.
I'm gonna have to
Go
go
ahead,
Wick. I'm
Omar.
gonna have to go. Gotta go eat dinner. The
Okay.
conversation. I like you all. God bless you.
Where can
And
people find you, Omar?
They say, buddy.
Omar on the third rail. I want to reach out to some of you guys and maybe have you on my. Bless all, man. We love America. We love our country. Just
God bless.
we just disagree with some stuff that it does. I mean, we gotta correct it. If we don't correct it, then we are not citizens. Guys, take care.
Okay,
Thanks,
have a
Omar.
great
See
day.
you later.
I want
I
to give space.
disavow.
I want to give space to Chris. Chris speaks. I almost called you Kiris. Katie, I hate you for that. But Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just regarding what was brought up earlier as to how you export the sort of the good parts, let's say, of American culture, for lack of a better phrase. I can't speak to the situation in Uganda specifically because I am genuinely not very well informed on what's happening there, and I feel no reason to lie on a panel. But if we wanted to look at sort of,
I shared sources to back up what I said. By the way, let's continue.
Great, yeah. Appreciate the input, I suppose. A place that we can look into when it comes to that part of it is, again, and I'm going to bring this up again, is Eastern Europe. Because what's been happening here, and that's been incredibly effective for all the ills and woes of capitalism, rainbow capitalism in particular, with all of the money that comes in from US corporations into this side of the world, has been incredibly fucking effective in sort of reinforcing the cultural shifts that are happening and these places becoming more and more liberal. Or progressive, or say what you will. We're getting to a point where gay people aren't being chucked fucking rocks at them in the street. And a lot of it is directly because of the influence that the American economy has on places like Eastern Europe.
Until
So
you
it seems
factor
like
in
that's
that
the
America
answer.
played a part in passing, or it played a part in anti-LGBTQ legislation in places like Uganda.
So I'm looking at
Once
one
again,
of the
a white
links. I'm
British
reading.
person, you know, not
I'm
British.
reading the
sorry.
source, and it says that it expanded, meaning they already had like laws against homosexuality before.
Yeah, it did say that, and I saw that.
penalty.
But
So it's been a long-lasting problem. It's not.
yes, but it's still pushed and forwarded. We're not helping it, and we're contributing to their already present homophobia.
So you're saying
also
we're
with our
emboldening them?
Yeah, we're emboldening them to keep doing that type of stuff. Our hegemony is contributing to that.
I have to
Our
ask
influence.
the Americans something. I'm this might be my most unprogressive take yet, but like I'm just baffled by how you guys are like really upset about Uganda criminalizing homosexuality.
Say it,
You
Katie,
realize
fucking
like
say it. Say
there's
it.
actual like genocide happening like in the world as we speak, right? Like I don't understand. Americans, again, it's part of the whole American hegemony and the inability to have any like relation with the outside world and outside of America. But like there are a lot of really, really bad things happening. Not just like the woke shit, but also like genuine like murder and genocide and
There
abuse
are-
and torture and slavery.
There are.
You're not
Katie,
doing
take-
anything about that either. So I'm
Perfect,
confused
okay.
why suddenly get
If
so in your feet.
If I was in charge, if I was king of America, if this was a dictatorship, we would be a
Hey,
lot more involved. You think the military-industrial complex is big now? Oh my God, you haven't seen nothing yet. We would go in to these places
We'd
that are
be wigging
doing
out.
genocide, that are killing their people, and we would make them stop. Now,
Wick?
a lot of people wouldn't
Hell
like
yeah.
that because it would be
Wick?
us forcing our will on other people, but that is what we should do. I am
Wick?
for that. I think we should go in and say, "Hey, you want to make being being homosexual punishable by death? No, you can't. You
Wick?
cannot. We will not allow you to do that."
Can
not
you
gonna do
say
that.
out loud
We're
for
not
me
going to do that.
that if the U.S. of A. was a WS of A., you would
Wait, say something.
invade China and North Korea?
I would do the minimal amount of force necessary to get them to stop. If
Wick's gonna liberate Taiwan.
that means boots on the ground, that means boots on the ground.
Quick.
Good for you.
So wait, so what you're saying is if Uganda did not succumb to our pressure of, not passing this law or changing the law, whatever, you would be in favor of boots on the ground in Uganda.
I mean,
If the law was such that they were killing people
Mhm.
and they were doing
they're
some sort
going
of
to,
genocide
yes.
against homosexuality, I'm not
They're going to.
100% on the law, right? Then yes, if they did not stop doing it, we would do what it takes to get the either the population that is under threat out, or just depose them or make them stop. Yes.
I'm really glad that you brought this up, Wick. And like I think this is so emblematic of like Americanism. I do find it interesting when Americans speak of boots on the ground. What they mean by that is they'll fly over to another country and wage war on that country's soil and murder its citizens while its citizens
to
are
stop
staying
a
at home safe.
genocide?
What?
Yes.
Well, we also have to go over
Absolutely.
there
Yes.
because you guys, we don't border anyone but Mexico and Canada. Very difficult to go anywhere else
Do
without
you
flying
think?
there.
Do you think there are no
do you think
bad
if
things
someone-
happening in Mexico?
If a country is genociding its people, what would you do to stop it, Katie?
What are you talking about genociding now? What are
If-
we talking about?
if-
Uganda? Or do you want to talk about
whatever
China?
country you want to look at, right?
Mhm.
If China, right?
Mhm.
Now, the only way I would not go in is if I didn't think we could win. Like if I think, ooh, I don't think we could actually win here, then I'd be like, well, shit, we can't do anything, right? But if I thought that we had the ability and resources to win, I would. $20 from Lawson Harrison. I think if foreigner lefties came to America and saw the utter lack of homophobia and racism, they would think it's some kind of Kim Jong-un false presentation of society. Thank you for the $20. But again, to ask you directly, Katie, if a country is killing its people systematically through a
Can you reread that
genocide-
super chat?
I will in a second, but I
the
want to ask this
first cut out.
question. I want to ask this question
me.
first, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Let
ahead.
me get out the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And while she thinks about it, I'll read it again for you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
If a country is systematically killing its people, and you have the power to stop it, would you not stop it?
Is that the only country I'm doing it, or am I world police?
Whatever. Say there's 10 countries, and you have the power to stop it, in all 10 countries.
What about the other countries? And what do you mean by power to stop it? Do you know what war is?
Yes, I know what war is.
Don't do
I'm very
that,
familiar.
Do you?
I do.
Katie.
How long?
What?
I just want to say,
I think he's very clearly stating what his position is. He would wage war with these countries. So if you disagree with that, say why.
I just want to say, I think
that
getting them out is a better
carelessly-
option.
Shut up, Eli. I think carelessly saying that you would go into war when you don't seem to actually understand the meaning of having war being done on your territory, hurting your citizens, not just by 9/11, but systematically, a gigantic superpower putting boots on the ground on your country and then
sounds like a
abandoning it.
skill issue. Sounds like a skill issue.
What would you
Yes.
do then?
I don't think that America has the skill to
If the
properly help the
citizens-
countries.
If the
I agree.
citizens of a country are crying out, please stop them from killing and raping us, do you not think
Black people
we
cry
should
that all the
go
time.
in-
You don't stop that, do you?
we should?
Why aren't
We
you
should,
doing
yeah.
it, Wick?
I am
Wait,
by
are you
by doing
waging
what
war?
is in my power to try to stop it.
Howard,
I don't have an
As
army.
lacking will.
I don't
So
have an
because-
army yet, but I do have a ballot.
So
And I wage that, I wield that shit. That's the weapon I have, are my words and my voting power and my activism. Those are the weapons I have to fight against oppression. And you better believe I use that shit. You better believe I don't sit on the sidelines and watch it happen. You better believe that I don't go, like, that I actually go out there and I actually try my best with the ability that I have to make the change that I think is going to do less harm,
Okay,
to
Wick.
help more people.
Okay,
These are
then
good
maybe I
things.
misunderstood
Why would
you.
we stop?
So if you had an army, you would wage war on the United States about how it treats black
I
people,
would
correct?
stop people from being discriminated against if I could. Yes.
I just want to say that I think the better idea is to just make it easier for the people who are experiencing this sort of like discrimination. Because I feel like Katie's talking from personal experience here about, like, you know, seeing war firsthand. But I do think, again, like, we should just make it, instead of just going and like, yeah, fuck this guy in particular, you know, what if we just said, hey, you know, we're gonna, you know, station ships over here, whatever we can to like help these people come over here without doing war and making it a lot easier for them to immigrate over here for for safety and safe haven. That'd be great. Unfortunately, America has a really bad track record with that type of shit.
America is not perfect and does bad things. I agree. Fondue,
It's not-
$2.
wait, I think
$2
it's
from
a-
Fondue to
no,
say
wait.
base dictatorship. Thank you.
I think that
$2 from
it's like-
Adarius. Let me make my money. $2 from Adarius to say thanks for reading this comment, Wick. You're welcome. Okay, thank you for those comments. And
I just want to say that, like, I mean, okay, like, yeah, there's bad things and what have you, but the thing is that, again, we're talking about American hegemony here, and I'm talking about a way in which American hegemony could actually be pretty good, you know? Like,
Or how about-
instead, but instead what happens with our hegemony is we just demonize anybody that's not a white person. It's like, oh yeah, the people at the southern border, yeah, no, they suck, and like they are coming here to replace us and all this other type of shit, right?
Uganda.
Why not do both? Why
Uganda.
not help the people of the genocidal country and also try and stop the people enacting genocide?
Because at the same when we do things like that, right, we risk killing innocents and what have you. I'm talking about a way, like I said, that would minimize bloodshed and get us really close to the outcome that we want.
I think in certain
helping
cases
people.
that is the better
Getting very
option.
close to
No,
the outcome
this
we
is
want.
Better
contextual.
than
Just real
nothing,
quick.
for sure.
Zephyr Hash for $5. Thanks for reading this comment. My parasocial dad. You're welcome, son.
I'm back.
$2 from Darius. How do we demonize non-white people at not Eli Monty? Ask him in the open. But let me answer the question.
I
That
want to play video games with my hot wife
wanna
after this. I'm not
toss
saying for no woman.
I want to toss
I'll
this.
stay for that one.
I want to toss
Yeah,
this
answer
to
on my
some
behalf,
other
Katie.
people. I want to toss
trust
this
you.
to other people, but there are, again, this is contextual. If there's a situation where we could do more good by simply providing a refugee kind of path, right, for people, absolutely. But there are some instances
Is that
where
before or after you
countries,
put them in cages?
where our
Ooh.
countries, right, you act as if I'm okay with that. I am
Yeah,
not
this is,
okay with that.
incredibly reductionist.
Go ahead, Daedalus. But yeah,
The
you asked
point
us, like,
is,
if I
no.
again,
Let me respond to that. The point is, Wick, that this is not a dictatorship. The way that America
Exactly.
operates in a way that causes harm. It's not about what you want. If you were in charge, I maybe wouldn't have said America is cringe. But you know what? You're not in charge. Other people are in charge of America, and they are making decisions that are exploitative, that are harmful, that causes wars, that harm people, all with very little
and
risk to
even
themselves.
with all those bad things, the good that America does still outweighs those harmful things, which I will cost
Source?
you every
Very
single
much
one.
disagree.
Country is
I
standing
know.
up.
Well,
Source?
that's why we're having this discussion. But Daedalus, Prussia, Chris. That's the order we're going in. Go ahead.
Can I just get a clarifier on where the fuck in this conversation we're at? we're at right now? Because like I
No.
appreciate the chance to speak. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to be talking about though. Like I have no idea what's happening here right now.
We've long ago left the realm of the living. Very much. Hegemony. It's a system. It's no one's saying that any hegemony throughout history has come with all good or all bad, but it's what we got, and that's the point we're trying to make to you. It's what we have.
And I want to abolish that. I want to go further.
Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
let's talk about that.
I fully support your efforts to end the world. I will be opposing that, however.
Okay, so let's
Imperialism
open
or the
it.
world ends.
No,
Let me just-
let's talk about it.
Again,
The
another
take.
person who doesn't understand the prompt.
No. Let's talk about it. Me and Eli want to abolish nation states and make it so there is no world hegemony. Well, there will be a world hegemony, but it would be an international one, not one that is guided by any specific interest of specific countries. And you think that would end the world? So we can talk about that now.
Can I? In that case, yeah, that's actually a avenue to explore.
How do you
in that
abolish
case,
China?
Are you guys abolishing nation states with boots on the ground, or are you guys doing that from
How are we
Twitter?
doing that?
Yeah, how do we abolish
Okay,
China?
that's a
You don't have
super
to
good
use an hour from
engagement,
Twitter.
Chris.
Explain to me in step by step, how do we abolish China?
Oh,
No,
my
I'd
God.
love to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah, because nation
Well,
states.
the point is, just
we
let me help.
abolish.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The point is this, right? We can abolish our nation state, and the nation states that agree to be abolished, sure. What about the ones who don't? The ones who say, no, actually, this nice world order that you have, it's cool and all, but no, we're actually going to be in
Let's
hegemony
take it.
instead.
I can envision Katie's world where we all
Just
sit around
because-
and
wait,
pass
just
through
because-
Kumbaya, and I can envision us
That's
attacking that
not
world
what.
because I'll never respect
It's
it.
not.
No, just
just-
Eli. No, I'm curious.
Hey,
Eli.
Eli,
if-
there's
So
a lot
the
of
people who
cognitive
don't
dissonance.
comply.
Let them cope.
Sure.
Okay?
The
I just
people who
want-
don't
Wait,
comply.
I think I have like.
Your dream
I
world
think-
where like
Stop.
I think I have-
Eli, go. Eli, answer.
So on my platform and like in terms of like how I make content and everything, I really like to talk about things that can hopefully help people think and view and tackle these types of concepts that are so vast and hard to talk about, help them tackle these things differently. So I think that maybe like if we, first off, the idea that we won't have a hegemony just means that like all of a sudden the world's going to end. I think that's really stupid. I think that even if we don't have necessarily like a nation state, that doesn't mean that we're not going to necessarily have a military. Just maybe that this military is more going to be like a community ran or more, even more democratic sort of like military, where people more along the lines of
an
society.
example of that
Also,
of a military
I would love
that's
to see a
democratically run.
Russia ran.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't exist, but just because it doesn't exist yet doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Doesn't mean we can't explore new or different ideas. That's kind of why I prefaced this whole thing with what I said before that. But anyways, I think that if we were to show people that maybe there is a different way to live, there is a different way in which we can, come together as a species and as people. I think that if we lead by example, and if we start doing that, other citizens in other nations could follow suit and could maybe be like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this shit. No, I'm not going to enlist in the military. No, I'm not going to go work in this factory, continue to make weapons for you to go and bomb other people. No, we're checking out of this and we're leaving.
And how do you do
Like,
that?
I know that this
They
is
look like they have a choice in these countries. They're dictatorship.
I know.
No.
Hold on. I know that this is a hard concept to grasp because it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and it's not something that exists yet. But I just want to employ that just because something doesn't exist yet doesn't mean that A, it can't, or B, it won't. And also, we have to understand, we have to acknowledge that it's not big wig rich people that make the world go round and that make shit work. It's us. It's regular, everyday, working class people around the world that make this whole bitch spin. It's not Elon Musk. It's not Jeff Bezos. It's not these motherfuckers. They wouldn't be anywhere without the rest of us slaving away for them. Okay?
Eli,
So maybe we just
You're
have
not
to
starving to death. So how are you supposed to fight back when you
This is why I said. This is why I said that we need to form class solidarity. We need to start helping each other. We need to start doing more boots on the ground things, more community outreach, holding and establishing things
In
like
China?
food pantries. And well, no, I'm saying lead by example first. If we're talking about American hegemony and the way, like, I just want to point out that
let's
part of the
dismantle
reason,
our leverage in the world so we can get fucked.
Shut up, you in the red hat.
You've been talking for like 5 minutes about a dream world.
Because I'm trying to explain myself. You guys keep fucking asking questions. I'm fucking explain this shit. Shut the fuck up. All right. Anyways, like I was saying, part of the reason why we intervene in so many governments where it's like socialist, communist, or any sort of like left-leaning government is because, or one of the reasons why America does it is because capitalists don't want American citizens to see how these places could potentially run and how these places and how people in these places can be happier and live better lives.
Success of the Soviet Union.
Now,
the Soviet Union was the second most powerful country in the world for decades.
One at a fucking time, goddammit.
I mean, I don't want to sit here and listen to your dream world fairy tale that never will work.
Whatever.
Like, literally.
Anyways,
10 out of 10.
Eli, just real quick, just some housekeeping.
Anyways,
we do need to get to some other people.
Well, I want to say this last point, and that is that yes, there have been times when left-wing governments have failed. There have been times where shit went really far south, right, and where things went bad and people died. We also have to recognize that during that time, the entire world was not in a good place during that time. Let's also not the shit that happened here in the Great fucking Depression, all right, and how it took a lot of more socialist ideas to pull us out of that recession. Not only that, but if one of my friends told me this, and this could be wrong. I could be completely wrong here. And yeah, if you guys want to dunk on me, sure, go ahead and fucking dunk on me. All right, I'll give you this dunk, right? But apparently, a lot of the people who lived lived during the times of like the USSR and lived in the USSR were polled, and a lot of them actually liked what was going on in the USSR.
Now that's propaganda.
Hold on.
Propaganda.
Okay. Can you guys not be reactionary for like 2 seconds? Can you guys not be reactionary for like 2 seconds?
Can you stop
Hold on. I'm not a Marxist-Leninist. I'm not someone who defends the USSR or who believes the USSR was great. I understand that there are flaws to every system and there are weaknesses that can be exploited, all of that stuff. Again, I am not someone who's like sitting here worshiping Stalin or any of these motherfuckers. I am much different than a lot of other leftists, and I'm not a tanky, none of that shit. I'm just saying there is a different way upon which we can think about this. It's probably going to take a little bit of imagination, but I think it's better than us just rolling over and taking it.
Got you. Okay, $5 from Fondue, and we're gonna go to Russia next. Prussia, I'm sorry. We're gonna go to Prussia next, then Chris. Okay, Fondue says for $5, please someone tell this communist that people vote in America. $5.
I'm not a communist, you fucker. I'm not a communist.
We're assuming the working class can become unified. The people that contribute the most to evil are working class. Rich people just benefit the most.
What the fuck is that? That's because of propaganda made by the rich.
$5.
It's $5 fucking wasted. That guy's an idiot.
Pressure, please.
First of all, let me just give a little bit of historical context. In every other scenario where hegemonies fell down across the entire history of the world, a militarist autocratic state came in and rolled through all these democracies, decentralized states that were possible. Every time, from the time of the Sumerians to China, the reason we call it China is because the Qin dynasty was the most militaristic autocratic one. To Russia against Moscow, against Novgorod, against Poland, to Turkey and other regions. The thing is, we live in a unique time in history where the hegemon is semi-liberal, not perfectly liberal, and the hegemon is semi-willing to share in the profits of its hegemony. This has never happened.
This is just bootlicking. This is just bootlicking.
You're gonna let him finish.
The dude is spreading Russian propaganda.
Yeah, but we can reform the U.S. and the problems that you may see. You have the right to vote and express yourself within the system. And I'm glad that you have these critiques. I have critiques of my own. But like to say that like,
Respectable.
we should dismantle the one world order which we can reform, hoping that magically, like
I don't know if we
won't
can
get
reform it.
fucked.
I don't know if we can reform it. I think we
Can I
are.
offer an alternative?
Go ahead.
Sure, Katie, go ahead.
Yeah. So when I was talking about
Chris has to go next, though. Chris has to go next. So.
when I was talking about like abolishing nation states, obviously, if that's something that was going to happen, just in the same way that if the world was ever going to shift in terms of its economic structure away from capitalism, America is going to have to agree to do that and lead that process, right? So if the world wanted to shift away from nation states, America would also need to be, because it's most close to those ideas because they're more liberal than the other superpowers, they will be the one leading that. I want to use American hegemony to dissolve nation states. I'm not trying to take away the influence of America. I want the problem is that American culture and like the white supremacy and just general supremacy within American nationalism does not allow Americans to think that someone is worthwhile as they are. They're not capable of that.
Yeah.
So if there was a change in perspective for Americans and they wanted a global unity with other people of the planet, and they thought those people were worthwhile to not be dominated but worked with, then America would have to lead that process by using both financial means and also military intimidation to, yes, coerce other nation states into playing along, just like America does with everything. I'm not against using intimidation.
You want a stronger hegemony for that.
Wouldn't stop a genocide either.
Yes, yeah, you need
Can I
supreme
comment?
hegemony where we would have.
Yeah, but Chris has to go. Chris.
Yeah, I'll bring us back to what Eli concepts and helps them understand these like so difficult struggles that we have. In my head, that literally translates to I sit at home and talk about the glorious utopia because I'm too full of shit to live by my values.
True.
So I just exist in a pipe dream world. Now
I will have you. Hey, Chris.
You will not interrupt me again. No,
So that I got next. I got
some
something for you, bitch.
Yeah, you said that we're going to form class solidarity. We're going to help each other. We're going to do more boots on the ground stuff, and we're going to establish food pantries and lead by example. But you didn't say how we're going to do any single one of these fucking things. Now, I'll be alongside you to criticize capitalism often and hard, and I'll be alongside you when we praise social policies. But I'm not going to stand by your side when the grievances with capitalism seem to be that you can't fucking hack it, so you're an online fraud. The fact that you can't help yourself to interrupt people every time they talk just goes to show.
I mean, maybe they just shouldn't be stupid and assume all these things about me. Like you want to say no, stop. I'm not gonna let you finish because now you're just engaging in ad hoc. So I just want you to know.
You're literally doing it now.
Finish. I had to mute you, Monty, because we gotta let Chris. Chris hasn't gone. Chris needs to go. Let Chris go. Go, Chris. Finish your point, then we'll open it up.
Yeah, all I was going to finish off by saying that it just goes to show that he's got his last fucking 2 brain cells fighting for the 3rd place.
Okay, do you have a point other than insulting Eli?
Yeah, and the point earlier was that he hasn't said how we're going to do any of these things, and it seems like every time he tries to, it's just some fucking version of a pipe dream world where how about the USA just does these things out of the goodness of their heart? Why don't everyone get a 5-bedroom house and a maid, but that maid isn't being exploited by anyone? Why don't we just all have food on the table? It's just fucking bullshit. He's not saying anything.
Okay. Eli, you may respond.
I want to respond by saying that I don't have all the answers, and I never claim to be the person that does have all of the answers. Because, like I said earlier, this is a very complex thing. We're talking about literally overriding years upon years of societal construction and buildup and what have you. Obviously, somebody that does not even have a college degree is probably not going to have all the answers. But I can at least put 2 and 2 together and point out where things are wrong. And as a matter of fact, you wanted to say that I don't live by my principles. Motherfucker, for my job, I literally do things. It is my job to think of ways in which we can make things better for some of the most underprivileged people in our society. Before, I know that a lot of people are going to say he's just virtue signaling, but I used to help homeless people. I used to pick them up off the street and I would help them find housing. I would literally put them into housing. Now what I do is I'm an interventive measure to prevent people who have mental health disorders and who were formerly homeless from getting evicted. Motherfucker, what the fuck do you do for a living? Please,
why do you intervene?
Me.
Why do
Please.
you intervene? I'll answer your question just a sec. Why do you intervene? What gives you the right to intervene on these people's authority, on these people's
They
sovereignty?
asked me for help. They asked me for help, and I know you're gonna make a straw man and make the comparison to other countries, whatever. Go ahead, whatever. I don't give a shit. But just tell me what the fuck you do, since you want to say that I'm a fraud and everything, and I'm not living by my principles when I'm literally doing that for a fucking living. Please explain to me your contribution, Mr. Anime Profile Picture. Explain to me what the fuck you do every day when you wake up in the morning. I can't wait for this shit.
Yep, absolutely. So my day-to-day job is that I'm a financial analyst in the anti-money laundering field, and what I do for a living is I stop the Russian transactions from fueling the money that they spent to invade Ukraine. That's my day job. That's what I do.
I will admit, that's pretty good. But don't sit here and just assume shit about me, because I assume fucking shit about you, motherfucker.
Okay. It's 8 o'clock.
Piece of shit.
It's 8 o'clock. I don't know if this is productive at all, but we're gonna give. I know people have things to do and places to go, but we aren't ending the show. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna open it up. So if you've been wanting on, jump backstage. Click the Discord link. Jump backstage, and we'll pull you on in a second. But I want to give everyone here a chance to have a closing outro. Closing thoughts, briefly, please, and tell people where they can find you. We're gonna start with Daedalus. Go ahead.
Thanks. All right. So I'm just going to go my closing statement. The concept of hegemony is unspeakably ancient. It reaches back to the cradle of human civilization in Sumer. Regional and super-regional hegemons have at various times existed and brought around a system of order to international relations. The United States stands as the world's first global hegemon, and our reach and power is unprecedented. These conditions seem likely to persist, and so long as we strive onward to, in the words of the framers, form a more perfect union, we should welcome this state of affairs as the best way to move forward in relative security. If you want to come find me, you can come find me at Two Guys Talking History.
Check them out, gang. Thank you for being here. Katie, please.
Yeah. So I think everyone's reactions have been really dumb. I guess what I want to say is that when I get off, I'll be talking my stream about a nationless solution and all the ways of dismantling American mindset, which was very prevalent in the reactions people had. Curious, Eli, I hope you both have penises.
What?
I'm sure you needed to clarify that in front of everyone.
The dick measuring. Fuck.
Oh.
Fuck. I took the bait. Fuck.
Wick, you suck. Thank you.
Okay. Gang, Chris, go ahead.
Ultimately, I think I made myself relatively clear. If anyone wants to talk about this in a more one-to-one, let's say calmer sort of style, then just hit me up in the DMs. We know how panels go. It is what it is. We're trying to make Wick make a living here. So yeah, I will finish off by saying that my name is Chris. I go by Chris Speaks on Twitch. Chris is spelled Krys, and I do variety streaming of games, usually intertwined with talking about politics, social issues, relationships, and just kind of everything in between. If you like what you've been hearing today, or you're just intrigued by either my ideals, or the fact that I'm a VTuber, or the fact that I have a British accent and I'm actually Polish, just hop on over to my channel, catch me when I'm live, and we'll talk about all of it. I promise you'll have a good time. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Wick, and it was a pleasure.
Hopefully some of you stay for the close, because there's a couple of people who really want on. Yeah. Eli, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nadi Laimonti. I am the son of Tiamat, and I am a socialist. And my whole closing statement is basically, we can't just accept things the way that they are. I do not think that right now, life is a good thing really for a lot of people, but we can't just sit here and roll over and say it is what it is and just accept what it is. Yes, it's going to be very hard. And some people might say that what I have is a pipe dream or a fever dream or whatever. I don't believe that. I think it just takes one person making a commotion, making a fuss and what have you, that can inspire other people to continue to take up the torch, take up the mantle as well, and strive for a better world for everyone. And I really focus a lot on my content of people approaching things from a different angle, thinking about things a lot differently, and also hopefully having, to an extent, a bit of patience with some other people and whatnot. If you would like to talk to me and you think my ideas are shitty or cringe or whatever, I don't really care. You can suck it, but I do take appointments. So if you want to just DM me, hit me up. I'm very easy to find. I'm very easy to catch. And we will schedule a time to talk on stream and whatnot, but I will not be staying for the after. I'm going to have plans with my wife. So but thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here, gang. Check them out if you'd like. Pasha, go ahead.
Hey, so yeah, I don't personally stream because I think there's enough people who don't know what they're talking about streaming already and talking about things they don't know. So I would suggest if you want to actually watch somebody not for politics but for video games, Hearts of Iron and Skyrim and the like, check out my buddy Tommy K on Twitch. Just Tommy K, the great spell. The K is just the letter K. I'm one of his editors. And so, but as a closing statement, as you saw, the other side vaguely said that America did some bad things, but never really defined it or defended any of those points. And in reality, the only hegemony in history is we live in right now is where we can reform it from the inside. And even their worldviews demand that America achieve ultimate supremacy and can enforce it upon other nations that have no inclination to following their pipe dreams. So if you like the way we live, just spend money. Spend it on Wick. Spend it anywhere you like. But let's live in the glorious system that we live now and enjoy the world instead of crying about how much doom and gloom there is.
Oh, well, thank you for being here, and thank you for that plug. Yeah, spend your money on me. That'd be nice. Check him out if you want to, gang. And you can find him here on occasion. STV Philly, go ahead.
Did you call me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's your closing.
I'm
Where can
sorry.
people
I'm
find
sorry.
you?
Somebody was talking to me. So my closing is basically if you live in Budapest or I don't know, Iraq, or excuse me, Budapest or like Kiev, I'm sure you really appreciate the American hegemony. But if you live in like Afghanistan, Yemen, Pakistan, Somalia, I can name 20 other countries, you might have a different point of view. So I guess it largely depends on where you live, how America has affected your daily life, and that's going to be your point of view. Me, living in America, I see the benefits of American hegemony, but I also see the devastating effects it has on other people around the world. Remember, America is 3.5% of the world's population, so I don't feel like the disproportionate amount of power we have around the world quite matches there. But hey, that's just my opinion. My name's STV Philly. You can find me on all social medias at STV Philly, and that's it. Thank you for having me, Wick. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for being here. Check them out, gang. Last but not least, Spudgun. I'm sorry about your internet. That you could be a better participant today, or a bigger participant, I should say. But it is what it is. Where can people find you?
Sorry, Wick. The weak have to learn.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Spud, it's your turn.
Oh, has it been a bit better since I turned the camera?
No.
No, it has been better. It has been a bit better.
Well, I'll just live in despair, I guess. I actually think STV great statement at the end there. I was pretty much going to say a very similar thing. A lot of almost anything that's going to involve international relations and things like that. Complex problem that different people with different perspectives are going to look. Can't really just point at one thing and say that is the issue. Instead, it's usually going to be a conglomerate of smaller problems that need solutions, and that's usually how it'll improve.
Well, thank you for being here. Put your links in my chat so people know where to find you. That'd be great. And with that, if you need to go, I understand. But if you want to stay, we're going to continue having this discussion. Gang, next week, by the way, count towards June, and I could really use those numbers up. So throw me some super chats, throw me some donations if you got it in you. If you have a few extra bucks in the wallet, I can't do this for free. You got to help a brother out and help me make some money and put food on my table, to be clear. If you're watching this on Twitch, subs. If you give 5 subs, I know people wanted to hear me say a certain word. If you give me enough, not that word, don't worry. It's not a slur, but it's Japanese. If you give me enough, if you give me 5 subs, I will say it. Otherwise, oh well.
This man charging subs to say ooh woo, I'm dead.
Yeah. Kick. If you're watching on Kick, please follow. Please subscribe there. That would be nice. Okay. Next week we got Monday. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court, whether we should pack it or abolish it or do nothing. We're going to
Abolish the
find out.
bitch.
Yeah. Tuesday,
I
I'm actually
wonder how
going to
that's
go.
gonna go.
Tuesday, I'm going to go on Tom Foolery's show, and I will be speaking with Destiny, with a few others, Kidology, about incels and sex work and things. You know, my areas of expertise, apparently. He invited me, and so I decided to come. Not my show, so not my guest list. $2 from Lisa Blogger. You got to pay me more money than that. Okay. And with that, we will open it up. So thank you for being
Okay,
here.
I'll just real quick. I'd love to stick around, but it is 2 a.m. over here, and I'm not used to being up at this hour quite yet. So I'll be jumping off. I will now proceed to shamelessly link myself in both of your chats. I very much enjoy talking to all of you guys. It got a little bit heated, but no hard feelings. So bye-bye, everyone, and take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Easy, Chris.
I'm just gonna transform and roll out of here, but thanks a bunch. Much appreciated.
Of course. Bye-bye. So, Dame, what is your name? Dame something or other?
Offensive.
Dame Offensive. You got a camera for us?
Shit. I'm not dressed, but I guess I do.
As long as you're appropriate. I mean, as long as it's.
I
A whole
mean,
different kind of show there, Wick.
Gotta go and kick for that one.
do I? Oh my god. You guys, what am I wearing? Okay.
That's
My hair's not done. I'm
It's a
wearing a
shirt.
shirt about like.
Fingerless gloves, baby.
Shit.
okay. Well, you had some thoughts. You've been trying to get in here for a while. So.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I'm a Canadian and I've also lived in the States. So I'm probably one of the most jaded about American nonsense as there is. And I think a lot of this conversation, if we're talking about it as American hegemony based or cringe, like it's just cringe. When we talk about Americans, there's this pride about them that's been around for a long time that may have been earned in the past, but is no longer earned. Immigration to the US is down because people don't want to go there anymore because the American dream is non-existent. And I think that what really matters is that in the last few years, Americans have fallen off as a goal for almost everybody in the world.
Okay. Yeah, anyone want to respond?
Can I provide a response?
Go ahead.
You
can talk.
Yeah, Spud, the problem is... Okay, go ahead, Spud, try.
If it doesn't work, just cut me off and I'll...
Okay.
I would just say that India that has a lot of Russian immigrants, and I would say that they agree.
Okay, yeah, it's just cutting out.
No.
I'm sorry. Russia, go ahead.
Yeah, so but doesn't that disprove that then American hegemony is just for themselves? If other nations that are supposedly in the American sphere of influence are now superseding America in certain regards, or economically are not as poor, that the people don't no longer have to come in droves to America from these countries, doesn't that then disprove the fact that all America is just working for themselves? Within the American hegemonic system, Europe, Canada, Southeast Asian certain countries, South Korea, Japan, have reached a level of economic maturity where they don't need to, where their people don't feel like they need to leave for America anymore. And in terms of like raw numbers, I don't have it in front of me, but like
I do. To let you know, approximately 286,000 non-citizens obtained lawful permanent residence in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2022, which is a 29% increase from the year before. So if it's down, we ain't seeing it, at least in the recent numbers. So are we talking down from 50 years ago? Because it's up from a year ago.
So yeah, the point I'm
Canada
trying
is
to make
getting
is
an increased number of immigrants based on the United States influx. And if your excuse is that because other countries get people, therefore the United
no, that's not what I
States
said at
is
all.
better, well, no, you're suggesting that the United States also lays claim on Europe and Canada, and I think you said Vietnam as well, and that's absolute insanity. Like, many people are choosing to move to other places instead of the United States because it
Yeah,
is no longer a place that can satisfy the American dream. And
yeah, there are other braces within American hegemonic system, within NATO, partnership alliances that are just as economically viable as the United States. So again, if we're talking just purely hegemonically, I guess America was so good for these countries that they superseded America now in certain regards. And in terms of like other poor countries, the numbers seem to be increasing because all I'm hearing from America is discussing how to deal with immigration. I mean, from
it's
my
really
understanding,
funny that you would use the term superseding and still claim that America wins that. Just think about how that works for 1 minute.
America wins in a way that it's so benevolent that countries working with it become so economically viable that they themselves start seeing immigration. So America is so non-selfish and such a good hegemon.
Yeah, I mean, same response. Like, I have nothing to say but to laugh at you.
I mean,
because
you're
that's
saying
such a
that
ludicrous
America.
argument.
Your argument is America is not selfish enough to just hoard all of the wealth and only stay as the sole economic possibility
I'm
for
just
people to come to.
just to be clear, I'm not seeing like the assertion that America's numbers are down. I'm not seeing it. I'm trying to find it and I can't.
Okay, let me find it.
Please link me your source.
Sure.
Daedalus, you want to give it a go? And then Katie, I see you. So Daedalus and Katie.
The question of America's internal politics is somewhat separate from the efficacy of its hegemony.
Fair.
Yeah.
Katie, go ahead.
True. Dodge. No, I wasn't. I think that the point she's making, again, which I think Americans are not actually capable of contending with, is that they have a lot of brain rot around like an inability to think that they are not the greatest and benevolent and wonderful. So even when the entire world doesn't see them as such and is mocking them and like sees that there are much better options, they will twist it and turn it in whatever way they need. Just to quickly like add to that, Persian, it's true that American allies have benefited financially with being allied with America, i.e., America chose them, and then like there were wars, and then they can't, except for Europe. I would, however, like to point out that that financial success is again on the backs of the countries that America is exploiting, you know, like the global south, for example, which was the entire point that a lot of us were trying to make during the panel. Yes, no one is disputing that America is successful, that Europe is successful. We are saying, however, that they are financially prosperous because they are actively harming other nations.
Such as, name one.
Well, so we did have a global pandemic in the last 3 years.
Can you name one,
numbers
Katie?
are from
Just
that.
so we can go into specific, like into a specific nation. Which nation has America harmed just purely for the
Mexico.
Mexico, like when NAFTA was instituted, Mexico saw a lot of jobs enter it, and Mexico right now is actually seeing less migration from Mexico to the US because their economy is improving. So, like, yeah, you can talk about like certain
So
other
his point is
policies.
it's not that simple.
Yeah, again, it's not so simple that like, oh, America's just eating stuff from Mexico. Like Mexico also has a mutually beneficial relationship with the United States.
So here's the thing. When you say mutually beneficial, you mean America does harm to a country and exploits it, and then that country is like marginally succeeding in some metric, and then America gets credit for it.
How like, can you specify how is the United States exploiting Mexico? Which way do you mean specifically? Because the only way I see it is the drug war is empowering the cartels, and I would grant you that. Yes, I think that internal policy is very damaging to Mexico. But in reality, Mexico getting jobs and trading with the United States has been mutually beneficial.
Wait, do you think that I'm saying that trading with the United States isn't beneficial?
Well, he's
to
asking Katie, how in the
What
last 50 years, right? In the last 50 years, let's say, how, and thank you for the gift sub, David Chapman. More subs, more money, gang, because I need those numbers up so I can put food on my table. Okay, Katie, the question is, in the last 50 years, what specifically is America doing to exploit Mexico? And thank you again for the gift sub. Really appreciate you.
So I'm going to interrupt you really briefly. I feel like you've changed. You've moved the goalposts. You've moved the goalposts there because it was not how is America exploiting Mexico. It's how has America influenced Mexico into a negative state. And that's, you need to be very careful about those,
I'll grant you that.
Okay.
Dame, do you mind me saying Dame? Is Dame fine?
That's fine.
I don't know how to call you. Okay.
Yeah, Dame is fine.
Okay, so Dame, fair enough. Then same question to both of you. In the last 50 years, right? How, in what way specifically, is America actively influencing Mexico that is doing it harm? Am I dodging again? I'm curious.
I'd argue NAFTA has done Mexico harm.
How so?
Can you specify the harm? Can you point to it?
No.
Okay.
Let me ask again. The other way, what is America doing to help Mexico?
It's actively working with it, even though it's a dangerous cartel-ridden nation. It's funding
Tell
the
me
fight.
specifics. You're very general right now.
It's active.
Putting in manufacturing.
Creating trade deals that exports American manufacturing to Mexico.
Which trade deals in what?
NAFTA specifically.
Okay, but NAFTA's huge. NAFTA includes Canada. What specifically helps Mexico?
The lowering of the tariffs and the ability to more easily transfer goods from Mexico to the United States.
Yeah, but Mexico could do that with other countries, particularly South American countries.
But no other country. No other country. What I'm specifically saying is the United States does not need Mexico. But in gesture of mutual cooperation, they're trading with Mexico, and it's mutually beneficial. And again, there's probably, I don't know, USAID is probably sending quite a bit of money to Mexico just as well. I don't have the specifics in front
you're
of me.
Talking about generic
I'm not talking
overviews. You are.
I'm not talking
what
about generic.
In what industries does Mexico trade with the US?
Automotive industry.
Oh, automotive. Okay, which companies?
GE, not GM.
General Electric.
I love this level of specificity when we couldn't even get one thing that they were doing to cause.
Yeah, again, you're trying to get me on semantics, but again, like you chose
I'm not trying to get you on semantics. You're talking about GM.
I want to give
American
a specific
company.
here. I'll give you a specific here. So one of the only reasons we have NAFTA is because Mexico asked us for it. They said, please give us this trade deal.
So why hasn't America pulled out yet?
Because it also benefits us.
Okay. But in
mutual
Mexico,
benefit.
the
benefit that Mexico gets is it gets industry, jobs from General Motors, other corporations that I can list if you want me to, right? I can list specific ones.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Give me, this is all Googleable, you know this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But again, she's just trying to be a little concerned troll. Okay, give me on a specific.
I'm asking you specifically for industries. Because you said GM, which is an American company. So
if this is your concern, an American company has brought its infrastructure. It has built factories and things within Mexico to give Mexican workers jobs and provide economic benefits.
Is it still an American company?
Yeah, that's kind of
Yes.
the point. An American company.
Why is
because
it
of
an
the-
American company if it's in Mexico?
Yes. It's owned by
What-
like
So
So
owners.
the
Yes. it's still
ownership is
American.
what matters. Ooh, great.
That's
Okay.
not all that matters. That
No,
isn't
that's
all that
What makes
matters.
it
absolutely not the what matters.
American?
No, just real
That's
quick.
the only thing
Just
that
stop. Just real quick. That isn't the only thing that matters. Is that it has an American owner, right? Or that it's businesses like its CEO is stationed in America. That's absolutely not. So there are a lot of benefits, and we see this because one of the criticisms of NAFTA is that it has hurt the automotive industry in America, that it has taken a lot of factory jobs and things like that from America because these companies have stopped building factories here and kept building factories in countries like Mexico.
Why?
And because
So you're
and the
saying
reason that
NAFTA
hurts
is
us,
both good
reason
for
that-
Mexico
and the reason that
and
hurts
good
us,
for the U.S.
let me
because
finish.
of the automotive industry.
just allow
But
me to
you've
finish.
gone back on both.
Just allow me to finish, please. Right.
Okay.
And one of the reasons that it hurt, like countries like, states like Pennsylvania, Detroit, Detroit's not a state, but Detroit City, absolutely got devastated because of this,
Michigan.
right?
That was before NAFTA.
Well, sure, but this didn't help. Is because these factories, when you have these industries built, this infrastructure built, it does provide benefits to the host city and the host country by allowing economic. It's a source of economic boon, for lack of a better word. I'm sorry, I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist, so I can't give you the exact language here. I don't have the verbiage to say what I'm trying to say, but it does
again,
provide
let
a
me-
benefit.
Is
right?
that
me
is
just-
that kind of like the thing of how if you build a sweatshop somewhere that the children get to work in the sweatshop and
These
then
aren't
it's good for them?
sweatshops, though.
No, I'm
right?
asking if that's like the same argument,
No,
but these aren't
because-
sweatshops. It's just exploitative
No,
labor.
no. What
Yeah, the
we're
sweatshop
talking.
is the exploitative labor, like this that stuff. When we talk about the sweatshops,
Well, they
in
work for
China,
lower
and
wages
Thailand,
than they would in the U.S., right? That's the point.
but
There wouldn't be these jobs in Mexico. The reason that like these companies are moving is because the United States government created an environment where these companies can now work within Mexico. Otherwise,
Yes.
they wouldn't be
They're
able
working
to.
for lower
Why
wages.
wouldn't they be able to work in the United States, though?
They wouldn't be able to work in Mexico if the United States didn't create a governmental environment where trading with Mexico is possible to this extent. This free
So
trade.
why don't they just work in the United States, though?
Because in Mexico they have more competitive labor market.
So it's cheaper to pay Mexicans.
Yeah, but because Mexicans don't have other jobs, Mexican economy
Yeah,
is not as
I wonder
developed.
what
why
the
we call it
Mexicans would say
exploitative.
about this.
It's not
deciding
it's
to put-
not just exploitative. They don't
I
have
don't
any
think call
other
it
option
exploitive,
before
exactly.
decay. Like again,
Yeah,
if
that's why
if
we
you
call
don't-
it that,
if you're
because if you
starving-
take someone who's starving and then you give them like half a loaf of bread, even though
You save them
would have
from
given
starving.
someone
Then
else.
that's better.
You
It's only
save
if
them
you're
from
causing
starving.
Yes,
You're-
you
causing them to starve.
you can save them from starving. It doesn't mean that you're not exploiting their labor.
I mean, at
You
that
get that?
point, like
It-
you're saying
no,
that
it
like
does
all
if you're
labor
not
is
causing the harm.
exploitative, which is just like then
Hurting them.
like you're just against
I think that is
capitalism.
her take, actually.
Yeah, I know that's a, but then again, but that's
I
just,
haven't
like,
heard. So can you tell me what your
what my
can you
take.
repeat it again?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that like if you buy into your framework that all labor is exploitative, sure, what you're saying makes sense. But in the reality we live in, where Mexicans would like to have semi-decent paying jobs, they welcomed these trade deals with open arms because it was a boon to their citizens.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that while we can talk about how all labor is exploitative, the beginning why we started this was because you said that America is so great and benevolent and helpful to everyone. And I was like, well, no, America actually extracts resources from other countries. And that's why it and its neighbors are successful, because instead of paying their own people what they're due and keeping their jobs inside, they import the jobs to other countries where people would put up with less money. And then they'll get to call themselves benevolent by doing those people a favor. You get that? That's my point.
No, but the reality of the situation is that like if we treat labor as a market, just like any other service or commodity, Mexican people are willing to sell their labor for less, and America is simply
Yes.
buying it from them.
But this doesn't hold. It is
Yes.
first of all, it is an open panel. So if you want on, hop backstage, exclamation point Discord, click the link, hop backstage. I'll pull you in. But this difference in wages isn't just an international thing; it's national too. In my area, right, the pay for the same job that would be in California is significantly less. A Pennsylvanian gets significantly less for doing the exact same thing a Californian does. It is not simply that the companies here are exploiting us compared to the companies in California.
Exactly.
That's not how this works, right? It's a lot more complex than that. And I
No,
think that
the
to simply
landlords
say,
in California are exploiting Californian renters.
I would
Yeah, the
actually agree
zoning
with
laws
you
suck
on
because
the
big
housing
industry.
thing, but
That's
that's a
my
different.
point.
That's a
It
different.
is a different point.
topic.
That's
But it's
not
also
that
a
doesn't mean
smart
they're exploiting
point.
Like-
Pennsylvanians.
Like again, what you're saying is that like everyone is being exploited by Washington D.C. Like literally just one city, it's
No, I'm
exploiting
not saying
Florida.
by Washington
Who-
D.C.
who
I
said
never
that?
claim that.
Are you just like making up your own arguments? No one
no,
said
but
that.
but this is just a labor market, and that's how it works. Mexicans,
Yes, just because it's a labor market doesn't mean it has problems that we can't solve.
so again,
Because there's
Mexico could
discrepancy
increase.
doesn't mean it's automatically a purposeful exploit.
It
Mexico
doesn't
could
have to
increase
be
their
purposeful to still be exploitation.
yeah, but
No,
again,
but she needs to
Mexico,
move the goalpost.
Mexico,
has to be
yes, you're right.
Mexico,
Yes.
Mexico could increase their minimum wage to the standard that the.
So it's Mexico's fault that American companies
no,
aren't paying
Mex-
workers enough.
I mean, they agreed to the deal.
Yeah, like they actually sought out the deal.
No.
They actually
Why are
sought
you
out
laughing at this? If I
That's
say,
all she
hey,
knows how to do.
hey, I will pay you X amount, right, to do a job, and you're like, cool, let's
Have you ever
go.
been jobless?
I'm jobless now. Like, yes.
Yes, but
Okay,
you're
wait.
making money, aren't you?
I wish
Wait,
I was
You were
making
just
more.
begging for money.
I am
weren't you?
begging. And let me do that again, gang. If
On
you're
your
listening,
knees,
if you're
Nick.
watching this, please, I will get on my knees. Here, I'm doing it right now. You can't tell the difference because my chair. I am on my knees begging you. Again, if you want more content, if you want more of this kind of thing and better things, you got to give me money. Super chats,
Do you not
subs in the chat,
irony?
all great.
Wait,
Are you
could-
gonna
might I?
It
Wait,
pains
could I?
me.
Dave,
Wick.
hi.
Daedalus?
Dave,
Daedalus.
full disclosure, me and Dame are friends. I feel like
Yes.
you're going somewhere here. Where are we
Yes.
going? Like, what's the end state that you would like to bring? Like, is
I
this-
just very quickly want to. Like, the reason why I laughed is because sometimes we will say that people can enter certain contracts and like we'll say that's reasonable or that's okay, and sometimes we'll say no, this is actually a hyper exploitative situation. And all I had to do was to talk someone who said that America is benevolent and caring of other countries because its allies are succeeding. And I was saying, well, actually, no, you're exploiting half the globe. And all I have to prove is that America employs a type of exploitation of like cheap labor force, which she did for me. Granted, I couldn't have done that myself. I'm not as knowledgeable.
No, but that's
So I was laughing because if a drug addict agrees to suck your dick if you'll give him heroin, he'll agree to do it, but you're still a shitty person.
Speaking of sucking dick, $50 for No Step on Snake. Thank you. I don't have to suck dick anymore with that $50, but I will if you give me 50 more.
So,
Okay,
Daedalus, to your
$50.
point,
No, just let me
your
read this. He
point-
paid 50
I'm
bucks
just
for me
trying
to
to
read
move
this.
this along.
He paid me 50 bucks to ask this question. Can we get a firm definition of exploitation? And I'm curious. What is game?
sure.
Define exploitation, please.
Exploitation is a shift in power where one person uses their power to make sure that the other person can benefit them without any power on their side. So what we've often been talking about here is the exploitation of wages. And a very specific example is where Mexicans are paid less than Americans.
Why are
And
they
the
paid less?
exploitation there is Because specifically, as you guys pointed out, Mexico doesn't have the same minimum wage laws. And therefore, Mexicans get paid less than Americans. That is exploitation because those companies are specifically seeking out their power to pay as little as possible.
So, like, again, the reality of the situation is now because of the trade deal of NAFTA, Americans enjoy cheaper vehicles than they would under if the vehicles weren't being made in the U.S.
At
It's
the
simply done.
expense
It's
of
Countries accept
Mexicans.
those
no,
deals because
not
they
at the
benefit
expense
their
of Mexicans.
country.
There is no other job in Mexico.
That's
Like,
how India came out of poverty, for God's sake. That's how they stopped being a first world country. Was through
like again,
the
if you don't
industry.
trading that America ensures enough stability in the world for there to be prosperous trade between nations is the reason why Mexico has an economy to begin with.
I need
Like,
you to
oh my
explain
God.
more about this whole India thing, please.
The expansion of industry and expansion of trade is how India improved the economy of its entire country, and people gained more access to better jobs, which then enabled them to further their access to more resources. It's something that takes time. It is a slow, gradual process.
Tell me who was
But
in charge of India at that point.
India
India.
didn't get out of poverty when
No, it
Britain
was Britain.
taking
You're
over.
talking about
No, we're
Britain
not.
taking over.
No, we're talking about
This was
free.
after India freed itself. What?
Yeah, again,
Why do
India.
you think India freed itself?
Because
I want some clarity here.
being
What she is
exploited.
referring to, what Spud Bean, or I'm sorry, Spud Gun, I'm sorry. What
You're
Spud Gun
fine.
is referring to here is the trade deals in the last 30 years that we've had with
Yes.
India.
Okay.
Exactly.
Britain independence was achieved, I think, in the 60s, right? I'm
Yes.
pretty
So
sure that
India is
India.
better now.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
Yes,
absolutely,
because
it's better
one
now.
was exploitive and one wasn't. That's what I'm saying. Is that the existence
Oh,
of
the
discrepancy
caste
doesn't
system is
automatically equate to
Everybody in India is
exploitation.
very happy with the caste system.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is
the
so
caste
overly
system
simplistic.
predates
The
fucking
caste
America
system has
and Britain.
started to end too because of this.
And again, we're talking about a country that had its independence for 30 years
Yes.
and then started trading the resource it had, which is cheap labor, because that's the only resource they had with other nations. And they own
Then they
trade that's
produce
only
more.
possible because of the stability
So,
created by the US.
Is it possible that India were exploited to the ground by the British,
Yes.
and now they're still
were.
being exploited by other nations as well, just enough to also rise in power?
No, because the fact that they are able
Trading
to
with
improve
another
our
nation
resources
is
over
not-
time is what makes it not exploitative.
Trading,
Right now,
the
right now,
fact that you are calling human labor, you are saying trading, and what you mean, I'm gonna be honest. When Wick asked for the definition of exploitation, I just Googled it. And the Google that I came up with is the action or effect of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from the work. Now, I assume that's not a very good definition, but the key word is unfairly here. And it's very clear that you guys, because you have a neoliberal perspective, what you guys, how the world works, how the economics of the world, whatever laws there are, that's fine. And as long as I play within the system, it's fair. And other people who don't hate the working class and do want people to not be exploited think that maybe just because there's a law about something doesn't make it okay.
That's
You
not
know,
what I'm
just
arguing.
because
That's not what
it's
I'm arguing.
legal,
So
just
saying
because
it's not
it's
my argument.
legal,
It's not
just
about
because
legality.
it's legal,
Yeah, that's not
just
the
because
argument.
it's
That's
legal,
absolutely-
just
Repeating it
because
doesn't
it's
make it
Just
legal,
because you
argument.
repeat
just because
stupid
it's
arguments
legal.
doesn't make them true.
I will
No,
finish
it's
talking.
fanatic.
Just
Fanatic
because it's
2.0.
legal to do something that is exploitative does not make it not exploitative. Now, I am not saying
All
that there are
labor is
necessarily we Jordan boy, we can talk about alternatives all you want, okay? You brought up America being benevolent. I said that America profits off of the
They're
global
benevolent.
south.
I never used the word benevolent at any point.
Yes, he
Something-
did, actually.
I
I
didn't.
said
I'm saying
America's
that's not my
benevolent.
argument. I don't know if it's his or not. I'm saying for me personally,
It is his. That's why I'm
It is
talking
my
to him.
argument. It is my
Yes.
argument. Go ahead.
So you said they are benevolent. I said they can be benevolent to their allies because they're literally exploiting the other half of the world who just happens to not be white. And then they just profit off of that. So I proved my point. Can you tell me how they're benevolent when you agree that what they're doing is using cheaper labor force? Because they don't want to
that's
pay
not
their own people.
exploitation. Because it's not the exploitation. Like right now, we're purchasing a lot of gas and oil from Norway. Are we exploiting Norway? No, we're not. There's a resource. Human labor is a resource in economic markets.
Yes, but why Norway now?
Because we're fighting a trade war with Russia and we're not buying their oil.
Yes.
Are you referring to
Why
Lithuania
is that
as
bad?
Like a lot of European, it's
Wait,
what is
is
that?
it bad? Do you think that
good
the fact
that
that we're
we're
not buying from
listening.
oil from Russia? Just real quick, no, real quick. First of all, I see your super chat for $5. I'll get that in a second, but I gotta ask Dame here. Do you think it's bad that we're buying from another country than Russia?
No. No,
Okay.
I think it's
Get
good.
her
I'm asking why it's bad that we're stopping because that's the implication Jordan has.
Oh,
Why
it's
it's
not
bad
bad.
that we're stopping?
It's not bad. It's good that we're not trading with Russia, but like,
Okay.
but then
Why
like,
were
if
you buying from Russia first?
It was cheaper.
Because we had infrastructure that made buying from Russia cheaper.
Why are you acting like this is a gotcha? Why wouldn't we buy something for cheap if it was for cheap?
Because Persian made the argument, for example, earlier that we were helping Russia, and look what Russia did. It turned around and stabbed us in the back, right?
We were trading with Russia, and it was beneficial to Russia. The entire war budget that they're now using to wage the war is
it would
built
have
on
been
the
more
trade
beneficial
circle.
to them. Russia, the bad superpower that you suck America's dick because you're so afraid of Russia. Russia is doing good things when they're selling you oil, yes? Surely
I'm
they
gonna-
don't
it's
exploit
not-
their
it's
labor.
not
I'm going
a
to pause
good or a bad
everybody
thing.
right here really
Loading of the
quickly.
language.
We haven't heard from
it's-
Philly in a long time, and I'm really curious.
Well, before Philly goes, $5 for the trip to say, so America takes away everything it's a part of. Is Mexico better off? I think we got to show why it's exploitative, bond, cost, everything costs money. STV, Philly, go.
So my thoughts on this basically is exploitation. I think when with Katie and Dame are trying to refer to is capital owners arbitrarily setting a wage for work which doesn't it doesn't reflect the actual work you put in. So say I work for Domino's and I make 15 pizzas, I'm still getting paid the same wages if I were to make 80 pizzas. And Domino's is going to they're going to benefit the most out of that, even though I agreed to the wage they're paying me, even though technically this is an agreement that's made. It's a little coercive and it's a little exploitative for those reasons. That's just what I was thinking of when they say exploitation. That's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, but that's
We
all
all agree
labor.
on that.
All labor
that
is
way or
exploited as
value
socialist
that way.
bullshit.
Value
Yeah,
is
again-
subjective. That's Marxist, like theory of labor.
Yeah, again, it's just like Marxist bullshit of like, oh, all labor is exploitative. So let me.
Why is Marxist bullshit?
Because it never works. It never worked, and it will never work.
Explain how.
What
Because it
hasn't
failed every time that it was tried.
Because
Wait, we're talking about
Oh.
we're talking about why all labor is exploitative right now.
I'm try-
What does
can
that
I
have to
try
do
it?
with what worked?
Can I try and take a stab
Because,
at it?
like, if you consider all labor exploitative, that is within the Marxist framework, and that framework is proven to be false time and again because it's not realistic within the real world.
Okay, so
It's
we have two ways to look at this. Marxism failed. Do you have examples of where capitalism succeeded for the
Right
populace?
now, we live in a successful capitalist
There are
system.
homeless people all across America.
This existence of homeless people.
There were
means
homeless
entire
people
enterprise
like
is a failure.
throughout entirety of history in every system. Just because there's not everyone is ultimately perfectly rich doesn't mean like we can't compare the collapse.
You use the term
No.
rich.
No.
You
We
use the
can't.
term
Shut up. No one
rich.
cares. Let me finish my point. Just
Why
we
are you
can't
rude to her?
compare there being homeless people to the collapse of societies that socialism ushered in into
Can I just
vast
say-
areas of the world.
I'm not talking about workers, seizing the means of production and all that. What I'm talking is representative wages to the work that you put in. I'm not talking about any overall economic system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not any deeper than that. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not a socialist. I'm not a whatever's to the left of socialism. I'm just saying that it's not fair to pay somebody $7.25 an hour, no matter how much work or how much value they bring to your company, how much work they do. That's my critique. It's not any Marxist.
And I
actually had a point specific to that.
Go ahead.
So my issue is more with I think at one point you said that the wage is arbitrarily assigned. It's not,
meaning no matter what you do, like no matter how much work you put in, you're not going to get paid more. When I say arbitrary, I don't mean they're just plucking the number out of thin air. Obviously, it's based on minimum wage and it's based on trade or industry standards, but usually it's not to the benefit of the worker.
Well, I would say it's based more on what now obviously the minimum wage is a separate aspect of it, but beyond the minimum wage, I would say anything above that is based on a combination of the cost of living where you are and how much you're willing to accept for pay.
Okay, stop. I just want to put a pin in this and to say that obviously there are certain corporations that are more exploitative than others. There are some who pay a much more fair wage than others. And so, I mean, I know that capitalism and the system we live under allows that. And I would argue that there are certain corporations that are I would say, are engaging in the international market in an exploitative way. But I would also argue that there are corporations who are absolutely not being exploitative, right? And it's a case-by-case basis, right?
Yes.
I don't think that's an American
An example
thing.
of a corporation that's not being exploitative?
Sure, I could
Just
probably.
quickly, before you answer, Wick, for the sake of the argument that we're having, I agree. I want to talk about more exploitative and less exploitative. The problem is that Persian needed to bring up Marxism to not engage with the concept that America is exploiting Mexico.
What I'm saying, again, the only way you said that America is exploiting Mexico is that American companies is buying Mexican labor at the fair market price that is in Mexico, because Mexican companies are paying the
fair. Yeah.
Can you define fair?
Workers willing to accept.
I want to give some space to Stardust.
That's what fairdom. That's what
nobody.
fair is.
That's what
General Motors is not at the gunpoint asking Mexicans to work.
I want to ask Stardust, American Hegemony, based or cringe?
Based.
Hell yeah.
Hey, Stardust.
Because America has the best values of any country, and I'm sorry. We got involved with NATO, and we have the largest military power in the world. NATO countries in general, a lot of them have not built up their military, and as a result, we are kind of contractually obligated to defend people. The United States has, I believe, contracts with some 60 plus countries to provide military defense when needed. We are an important force on the global stage when it comes to defending freedom, when it comes to defending against human rights abuses. And sure, we don't get everything perfect, but we still overall, I think, do the best. And values of these countries matter.
I don't understand.
Okay.
You're both saying that you're obligated to protect countries that don't have their own military, but also that okay. But you said that it's a problem that you got involved with NATO and that you have to protect certain countries.
I didn't say it was a problem.
You didn't?
I do think that there is a problem with maybe NATO members not building up their military like they contractually were said that they would.
What do you even know about the Canadian military?
But I'm not talking about
what Canadian military. No, I'm memeing.
What?
No, that's my point. What do you know? Canada's part of NATO. Do you know anything about the Canadian military to stand on to say that they're not holding their ground?
I'm not talking about Canada. There are tons of
You're
other
talking
countries
about
involved in-
NATO. Canada's
I'm
part of
talking
NATO.
What's the NATO countries?
Excuse me.
Canada
me.
is
I am-
spending 1.3%. They signed.
Excuse me. I am talking about other countries within NATO. Did I say Canada specifically? No, I fucking didn't. You stupid fucking bitch. All right. What I was talking about was
Stardust.
sorry.
You can't come in and just start.
Yes, you
sorry.
can.
Give
Hell
me
yeah.
another country that's not holding up their end.
Germany.
Hello. What the fuck are you
Germany?
talking about? I'm talking about
Germany
other
has not been
countries
holding up their end.
involved in NATO. Sorry, that have not built up their military like they said that they would. And you know what? There's a problem there. But at the end of the day, America should still be involved on the global stage. We are an important force when it comes to defending countries' sovereignty, when it comes to defending countries against other outside powers fucking dominating them, and when it comes to defending the democratic values that we all hold.
You actually just used the term dominating them, which implies that you think America should be in charge of these people.
I think that America should. I don't have a problem with America being the world police. I have no problem
Hell yeah.
with
You mob
Hey.
these fucking dictators, genocide pedophiles. Hell yeah.
Okay.
So you think America should be
See you later, Katie.
the genocide? Like you just
Damn, I
you
really-
said
I
America
really
should
think
commit
you're off.
genocide? Is that what you just said?
I just said America should intervene if a genocide is happening. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Said that.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. Can you think of any genocide that's been happening right now where America hasn't been chiming in?
Yeah, the
I
Uyghur
mean,
genocide. And
yeah,
guess what? That's
What
because
genocide?
China is another superpower. They're not one under America.
So,
Like, that's the
America
only way
is
they can
not-
commit a genocide is when America is not over them.
Yeah,
So
if
America's not willing to step up there, is what you're
Be right
saying.
back.
what we're
No,
saying
we're
is
not ready to
America
start
is not
nuclear
willing
war
to
over
plunge
it,
the
but
world
sure
into
thing.
nuclear fire because we don't have the capability
I guess
to
that means
enforce
we're
the
not
will on
consistent,
China
huh?
effectively enough. Like your whole contention here is that America should become so strong that they could crush China, right? That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But
Your
like,
argument is that America should be the protector, and it sounds like they're not protecting.
because they're not capable yet.
This is
Oh,
not the
so
point you're
America's a wimp.
making.
No, America's not a wimp. It's just they're not strong enough to save the Uyghurs, which they should strive to be able to be strong
So
enough.
America
And our
needs-
trade war with China is weakening China enough to ensure that Uyghurs get some sort of help from America. Hell yes.
World has
So you're
problems
still
sometimes,
saying that America's
is
too
the fault
weak.
for that too.
Yeah, I'm saying America is not as strong as I want it to be.
America's too weak. Say those words.
To save Uyghurs, yes.
All right. Well, how about the
America
Democratic
is too
Republic
weak.
of
Say
Congo?
America
those
is
words.
too weak to effectively save the Uyghur population. yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is. That's,
Well, it should be
that's
stronger.
Darius,
Yeah,
for
that's
$2
something we should improve.
for
Almost
$2
like
for $2, Darius
America,
says
no one's saying America is
be it
no
known
failing.
that not Eli Monty ran from me. Fair enough. Okay. I got a question. For you, Dame, specifically.
sure.
Do you think it's a problem that China is engaging in these exploitative, this genocide of its own people?
Of course.
If you had the ability and power, if you were queen of Canada and America, right? Like Canada and America had a married and became the same country, and you were in charge of all the military and NATO. Would you?
I mean, okay.
Would
Just
you
very
stop
quickly,
them?
I would be king, not queen.
Apologies. Okay, King Dame. Okay, if you were king of America and NATO and all the military, and you looked at the might we had, and you said, "Okay, we have the ability to go in and stop this from happening in China," would you do that? Would you stop the genocide in China?
I mean, that's such a vague term. I would remove the power in China, for sure. The president
you'd-
is a problem.
You would depose. You would. You would
What is the
propose
difference
a
between what
leadership
you're
in China.
proposing
Okay.
and what? Yeah, if anything, what you're proposing is way more extreme than the way that
Yes.
America is involved in a lot of places.
Why is it more extreme to remove a problematic leader than it is to
president of a
declare
country?
war in
Not
an
even-
area
not
with civilians?
Not even give civilians, the
Wait.
ability to.
Hold on, Stardust. No, stop.
yeah.
Because how are you going to depose the leader without declaring war?
Yeah, how the fuck are you gonna do that? Are you fucking kidding me?
Have you never heard of a coup? America's great at those.
Fair. I mean,
Done
okay.
so well. They lead to such stable countries.
America's so
South
good at coups.
America
It
all the
worked really
time.
well in China.
I mean, again, sometimes you just can't do it. Like it's physically impossible to coup certain countries.
It's possible. They won't do it because it's too. It makes too much money.
You're so American hegemony
What makes too
bad,
much money?
but you're okay with
China,
deposing
to the
a
American
fucking-
people.
deposing a fucking president of China, of China, literally. Yeah,
America has
hello?
control of every Chinese.
What's the difference
citizen
between China and
somehow,
every other
can make
country?
them coup
Stardust.
upon will.
Wait, Stardust. What's the difference between China and every other country in this world?
China is a dictatorship, and
Mhm.
China doesn't have the same values as America does. China,
Right.
but you know, when you're talking about other countries, every other country, China is much more powerful than any other country.
There you go. There you go.
China
It's
has
another
nukes.
superpower.
China has
There you
nukes.
go. There you go.
Would it
I
be
think
better
America-
that they weren't? Just
better
to
than
both
America's
of you, to
starting
both of you,
in
to
China.
Stardust
I will
and
tell
to
you that.
Philly, just real quick, to Stardust and to Philly then. Would you, right, if you had to choose between America as your superpower that controlled you or China as the superpower controlled you, who would you choose?
America.
Okay.
America 100%.
Yeah, fair enough.
I again
So
declare
again,
No questions
if
asked.
America wasn't a hegemonic power, let's say America did not have the military might, influence, the world influence, do you think that China would simply stop where it is?
No.
No,
They're
so
not
it would
stopping it,
expand.
even though we're here.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're currently vying for control, power, influence, both monetarily
Yes.
and militarily in places like Africa and South America and other countries, things like that we currently have power over. Do you think it would be better for the world and better for these places for China to have control over these places or for America to have control?
Why is that the choice though?
Because it is.
Because
Get
that
rid
is
of one
the
that doesn't
choice.
magically
Because
pop
that
China
is
out of
the
existence.
Why can't the countries have reign over their own people though?
Because China won't let them.
Clearly
Because
don't even
China
have
won't
that
Why
let
don't they
them.
just
You're
listen
But
to us?
America doesn't let them either.
So but we have to choose America or China, and America is better. That's the choice.
We should
There
just
is no
stop
other
and hope
choice.
China gets
But that
becomes
doesn't
better
prove
and doesn't
American-
do it either.
But that doesn't
Where?
prove American
China
hegemony
made a
is
coup.
good
Bro, I
or,
can't
you
with
know,
this.
preferable.
Okay.
It's better than
Okay,
everything
okay,
else.
gang, no one's
reality.
giving me money anymore, and unless you're going to give me money, I'm going to end this. So unless we can get some good donations, I'm going to put this to bed. But I will say this, before we go, right, and while you guys get your wallets open and hopefully throw me lots of money for the end of the month, I will say this. American hegemony, and even in countries where we exert a lot of influence and control, one of the reasons that we do that is at the behest and request of members of the country itself, the citizens of that country. For example, when we went into Korea, right, during the Korean War, it was at the behest of the people of South Korea. We didn't just decide to do it. They asked us, hey, help, we're being killed. Please come
Taiwan is
save
acting
us.
it now.
For Mexico, they asked us, hey, help, we're poor, we're broke, we need help. Please, NAFTA, sign this agreement to help with us. Like, and I get it. I'm against pressure on this. I don't think America's benevolent.
So when you say Mexico asked to join NAFTA, you imply that America
Lumi,
is the
thank
only
you for the
one
donate.
who was
Good
part of it.
Good path, quick travel. Thank you for
Oh,
the
I
sub.
know,
Lumi,
Bruce.
Where's the
They're
donate
insane.
button? I will DM you my PayPal link. Yeah, and the GoFundMe's dead. Don't do the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe link isn't there. The Dono link isn't working either because for whatever reason, donating through Streamlabs does not get me money. It just never works. But I'll send you some money, or I'll send you the link. Let me. Don't worry. Okay, but so I guess we're gonna get money to go on for a little more. But yeah. So again, like, what is your like the question isn't just like, is American hegemony perfect? It's not. Obviously, we would like it to be better. We'd like reforms to the system.
I
The
mean,
question
your
is,
question is cringe
what would your
or
question be,
based,
James?
which
What
is
would your-
so very okay. Let's define cringe or based.
on the balance? Sure, on the balance.
It's one
Does
question,
it
you
do more
can't
harm than
answer
good?
Yeah.
Does it do more harm than good? Well, that's going to depend on the recipient. Like the outcome is affected by the observer, right? Some people are going to think that America has been a real shitheel. Other people are going to think
people would be wrong.
The people who've been the victim of American-led coups are going to probably be correct. They will have suffered because of the American regime.
I mean, any action could technically have somebody negatively impacted. It doesn't mean that the action itself isn't a good action. Like, probably if there was somebody trying to kill somebody else and shot the killer would think that my action was not good. But in reality, most observers would say that I did the right thing. Like
that a bad action doesn't make you a bad actor.
And again,
So just
it's
so you
not
guys
even the
know-
bad action.
Just so you guys know, America, the United States, is basically, in addition to 51 allies, the United States is obligated by treaty to defend. It has.
So you're reading off
Wait a minute.
Wikipedia right now.
Let me
That's
finish
clear.
What I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. It has also, beyond those 51 allies that it is that it has to
How many
defend,
allies?
51.
Just
51
wanted to be clear.
51 allies, and then
What
in
year was
addition to-
that?
Yesterday.
Why does it matter?
Dumbass.
Why does it matter? These are all different.
It does matter, doesn't it? Because is that 51 allies today? 51 allies a year ago?
Crazy? Does she have a personality disorder? What's wrong with her? Why can't she?
She's the most lethargic nasal speaking person I've ever met.
Condescending-itis. Fatal.
Okay.
Can I finish what I'm saying here?
Finish your
I'm
point,
allowed to
Sarah.
finish. My point in saying that there are 51 allies, plus also, like kind of ally-ish people. In addition to that, my point in saying that is that we are obligated by different agreements to defend those 51 allies. And if we go back on that, we're gonna look like fucking assholes.
Out of how many countries in the world? How many countries are there in the world?
Why does that matter?
Because you're saying you have specifically mentioned 51 several times. Yes.
Because that's the right number.
Okay. And how many countries are there? What proportion is it?
About 200. About 200 countries in the world.
It's over 200, yes. So it's less than a quarter of the world that is allied with the United States.
Let's look at those allies. Stop. Those countries. Those 51 countries. How are their citizens better or worse off than the other countries that are not allied?
Infinitely worse off. Infinitely worse off.
The countries that are allied with us are infinitely worse off?
No, those who are not allied with us are infinitely worse off than American allies. Like, even look at when Yugoslavia collapsed, Croatia was accepted into the EU and into NATO as opposed to like Bosnia and Serbia, and these were countries that were part of the same country, and now Croatia dwarfs the other Yugoslavian countries. Like, being accepted into the ally circle is a boon to any nation that receives that privilege.
Yeah, and I believe
so. I guess if the question,
America is also the number one provider of foreign aid of all the countries in the world. We
worshipped in Africa.
I want to give space to Phil.
No. I'm just saying we agree on all that. We agree on all that. We just have criticisms of the other aspects of the American hegemony. Okay, so NATO, great in my opinion, great thing. The countries that are in NATO, Wick, to your question, are better off being allied with America and allied with NATO. But that none of those have anything to do with any of the criticisms we were making. And it's funny because it's just like capitalism. While capitalism, it benefits a lot of people in this world, a lot of people, there are good critiques of capitalism to be had. Doesn't mean you hate the way things are, or you want to disband, or you want to, at least me personally speaking, It's just that specific criticisms that I have aren't being addressed.
What is
Sure,
what?
And
I
it's
would
like,
agree
well,
with a lot of your criticisms. I think
what
they are
I'll say-
legitimate criticisms.
What I will say is that, obviously, like, I will agree that American hegemony isn't perfect. We've made mistakes, right? But I think overall, like American hegemony is much more beneficial than it is harmful. But I haven't been here for the entire panel, so I don't know like what your criticisms are really. So,
Daedalus, go ahead.
So
ahead.
one of the things I think pertinent to bring up again is like no one, and I only cop to saying that exploitation doesn't occur and that it needs to be corrected. But those things are not necessarily going to be connected inherently to the maintenance of a particular hegemon. The system is historically contingent. We have had hegemons throughout our history in various places and times, and we have seen deleterious results when those hegemons collapse. So for the moment, again, ultimately, even through the bad parts that happen, I have to say that the prospect of those deleterious results is much worse than anything else we can advance as far as the harms that are being done. We can address the harms over time, but if we get into a situation where we find ourselves in another world war, all bets are off.
Yeah, but cringed or based.
Usually when I'm preparing for a WIC panel, I assume his prompt is designed to get viewers in, and I try to
Jumping off
elevate it.
point.
I love you, Wick, but
there is a
but that
character
happened.
limit. No, let me address this. There's a character limit. Do you guys want a novel for a prompt? No one's gonna read that shit. No. Simple question that promotes discussion. That's all I'm
Full
looking
prompt
for.
then. What's the full prompt?
That is a full prompt. It's
The
American based
entire
or cringe?
panel we've had is the rest of the
Okay.
It's American
Well,
hegemony.
no, it
based or
sounded
cringe.
like you wanted to talk
Sure.
about a character limit, so it implied that you
if
had a longer
if I
one.
were to make a full question to get to all the nuance of this, it would take a lot of time, effort, and energy. And
Can you
frankly,
say it now,
yeah, I know that would be exploitative of you, the panelist, towards me, the host, because that's a lot of work, and I ain't getting paid enough to make a full fucking novel. So you get what you pay for, which in this case, American hegemony
Sweetie, you have
based
no
or
idea
cringe.
what reach I have.
What,
But
just to
well,
be
that's
clear,
true.
Wick,
Wait, how
I'm about
much
to-
reach do you have, Dave? I'm curious. Are you,
Actually,
should I be super excited?
She kind of blows both of us out of the water in subscriber count.
Well, good then. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Oh,
you
I
have a
mean,
lot of
I'm
reach.
not gonna. It's not worth sharing if you don't want to, like, actually, you know, if you don't actually want
have
to
you.
have the
I
full
let you
conversation.
on.
Blackmail.
I let you on, not knowing you from Adam. Okay. I let everyone on. Subscriber count only matters in the amount of
You're
like,
the one who
promotion.
put monetary value on.
Sure, I put monetary value on everything.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and leak some DMs here, Wick, if you don't mind. Here's the prompt, everybody.
Thank you.
American hegemony, good or bad? Question mark. That's it. That's
Hang on.
Oh,
If
so
we're gonna
it's
leak the
even
DMs,
shorter.
if we're
Thank
gonna
you.
leak the DMs, let's be fair. Hang on, let's go back up a bit. American defenders. That was the other thing.
If it's just good or bad, then any hegemony is bad.
Currently, America stands as the de facto superpower in the world. While its influence and reach isn't all-encompassing, it has projected its will and force in the world, both militarily and culturally. Is this a good or a bad thing? Why? Should we encourage more of it? Expand its power and influence? Question mark. That was what we put out
you got a juicy prompt
yesterday.
I got a simple prompt.
Yesterday.
I don't know.
Our group chat.
I put it in the group chat. Everyone got this prompt. If you read the group chat, you read this.
Well, that
You
just
did
exposes
read the
me. I
group
guess.
chat.
That exposes
Maybe
me.
you
then.
should read the group chat.
And to
You
be
know?
There was,
clear, I put a
there was
definition
also
of hegemony in
$100
the group
Amazon
chat.
card that you didn't get to.
Oh man.
Okay,
Who's
okay,
not listening,
okay.
Philly?
I just want to know, right? Like, why do you think that, Dame, I'm curious. Do you think that we can exist in a world currently without a hegemony? Like, with any hegemony?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because hegemony, if we look at the definition, is about like predominance, a predominant influence. When we talk about individual countries in the world, why does any one need to have special power when it's really supposed to be, we're talking about like a cooperation of world powers. Like, why does one need to be dominant over another?
I think it's not need to, it's will. If we do not take the dominant spot, another power will. And I would much rather be the bully on the block
That's
than have
a
China
false
or
argument,
Russia.
though.
Why?
What'll actually happen is that there'll be a
We've gotta
struggle
share a coke
for
with them.
who takes control.
Exactly. And within that struggle, we better hope to God that someone benevolent wins, or someone at least as good or better than America wins. But the thing is, I'm looking at the world stage, and I'm looking for a country that would do it better than America, and I am hard pressed to find any that are both capable, right? That have the capability to do it, as well as the might to enforce its will. The only country I see on the world stage currently that is at that point is America.
I mean, it
But do
sounded
you
like
think
China
Canada
is
do it?
stronger than America. So to me,
China
it sounds
is
like
much
China's an
better.
option.
China and
China's still
America are
great.
in a struggle right now. I think
No,
that China is very
genocide
weak. I don't think I think within its own borders, it is much stronger, but it does not have the same influence that America does in most of the world. There are exceptions. There are places where we can look, like BRICS, for example, Brazil, Russia, and India and China, right? Like where it's trying to extend its influence and put and do the long game, the Belt and Road Initiative, all that, right? It's making plays. But when we look at like most of the world, America just dominates.
Yeah. Well, so the question of hegemony, it's about unchecked hegemony. I think the fact that there are other superpowers on the road right now, currently, that can, in a way, keep America in check, but more so that America can keep these other countries in check. That's where I agree with the American hegemony is our ability to keep other superpowers, Russia, or 10 years ago would be considered Russia, and China. Our ability to keep those countries in check.
One of the principal things I think we have missed throughout much of this panel, and I'm stupid and should have brought it up sooner, is that hegemony is not a thing which is consciously constructed. It is kind of a thing we describe after the fact. So like earlier when we was talking about dismantling hegemony, it doesn't really work like that. It wasn't built. It is a impression that people have. America's dominance is assured not because of the things we have done, because of how we are perceived. And like those things don't really change that easily either.
There's like a lot of international policies and conflicts. We may think we're making the right choice when it's happening, and then realize we made a vital error, or we didn't have enough information. Sometimes we do make the wrong choice. But just because we see it's the wrong choice now doesn't automatically mean it was done with malintent, or not done because they thought it was the best option.
As was mentioned earlier as well, a lot of the reasons pre-hegemonic power, according to Daedalus here, which I don't know if I would agree entirely with his timing on this. I'm not sure if simply having a competing hegemony means that we are not a hegemony. I don't know. That's a definitional thing, semantics, whatever. But
It's okay.
One of the
You
reasons
can't always be based.
It's true. In our struggle to become a hegemony, let's say it that way, right? We went into a lot of these countries that people were pointing out were exploitative or a wrong decision, if you will, like Vietnam, for example. But one of the only reasons we were there is because we were contesting influence, right? We were contesting influence in Vietnam between the Russians and Americans. Domino theory was a prevalent theory back then, that as these countries started to fall to communism and fall to USSR and under influence, it would create this kind of like domino effect, and we would be muscled out of the world. I think it's good that we oppose them, right? I can quibble with how we did it and saying, well, probably should have done it better there, here, there, the other place. But overall, I think that I'm glad America is a hegemonic power today.
And when it comes to Vietnam, if you want to talk about that, like a consequentialist view, is Vietnam's doing great now. Phenomenal after the war. So, I mean,
and it wasn't just
that I would rest an argument on that, but if that's
did America win that war though?
Yeah, but then China invaded right after and also lost. Like Vietnam just waged a very successful guerrilla campaign, and now like Vietnam is very good friends with the U.S. So ultimately, yeah, we kind of the U.S. kind of did win that war.
Okay, well, we are circling the drain, gang. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. No, I appreciate all of you for coming. Thanks for joining the open panel. We do this all the time, gang. So if you like this kind of content, we'd love to have you again sometime. Next week, Monday, we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court, whether or not we should abolish it. Tuesday, I'm going to be going on to Tom Foolery's show, where I'll be talking with Destiny and Kidology and a few others about sex work in Seldom and a few other topics. He invited me, so I'm happy to get an invite to other places. Yeah, that's what we got coming up. Gang, we're gonna raid out. Stardust, you gonna keep streaming after this, or you keep doing?
Yeah, I'll probably still be streaming for a bit.
All right.
I do appreciate it though.
Thanks again for coming on, and
much appreciated, Wick.
Thanks for
It's
having
been
me.
fun.
Thanks
Have
for
fun.
really fun.
No hard feelings to anyone.
No,
who
no,
fought.
this is fun.
This is fun. I like.
Yeah.
This is fun.
We duke it out, and when we go home and party. All right, cheers, everyone.
Okay, have a good weekend. Bye.
All right. I'm actually going to check out too. Avery's eyes are, watering at this point. So I want to thank everybody for showing up and the lively chat that went on. I would appreciate it, and I hope you all have a good day. And yeah, that's